And we're live with the creator and leader of the School of Humanitarian Socionica, Dr. Viktor Gulenko. I'm going to say a little bit about this hangout. So as part of this hangout, we're going to go through Farrah's EEG results, because Dario conducted some tests on, no, not so much on Farrah. So it's Farrah like carried out these tasks, and Dario measured her brain activity during these tasks. And Victor has looked at these results in trying to diagnose her type and comparing S.L.I and SEI. And one of the reasons I use those terms is because they are quite different. They don't really have an equivalent in the West, except, well, we'll go over that later. Anyhow, so I guess with this being the 20th hangout with Dr. G, that I should mark the occasion. I was going to blow this, but I chickened out and I listened to the roll FI in my head, which said, don't do it, weird, but not funny. Put the blowout down, or you'll be arrested by the comedy police. Right, over to Maria.
Виктор Владимирович, все поняли, да? Можно начинать?
Ну, нет, я не понял. Если можно, переведите. Кратко.
Что вы сказали?
Если можно, кратко переведите. Я не все понял.
Это была... Он сказал, что это 20-я встреча, а дальше была длинная шутка, которую я сама не очень поняла.
Я не понял. Тогда продолжаем.
Окей, let's go on.
Кто начинает? Я могу начать или, может быть, есть какие-то вопросы предварительные?
Ben, do we have questions before Victor starts?
I don't know. Do you have any questions, Bradley, Farrah, Joe?
No. None here.
Yep, there's no questions. These are the possible slides that we could go through. So we've got Farrah's results at the top. And then we have Victor's graphic comparing the two. And then we've got some short profiles that Victor wrote for Elena's website. And I thought they were quite good because it had sort of like advice for the types that are not in the ModelG profiles. Over to Dr. G.
Ben просто перечислил графические материалы, включая профили с веб-сайта, которые ему очень нравятся, потому что там есть практические советы, основанные на профилях.
Хорошо. Тогда можем переходить, собственно говоря, к теме.
Okay, let's get started about the comparison of S.L.I and SEI. Вы хотели вступление сказать по поводу
вступления. Прежде чем рассматривать сравнение двух типов, я хотел бы сделать небольшое предисловие о статусе соционики.
Before we start the comparison, I need to digress and say a few words about the status of socionics.
Дело в том, что соционика еще не смогла доказать свой строгий научный статус.
Socionics has not yet confirmed its status as a science.
Но если она не строгая наука, тогда чем она могла бы еще быть?
If it's not a hard science, what else could it be?
И я хочу предложить такие возможные ответы на этот вопрос.
These are the options I can offer.
Первое. Соционика может быть учением о человеке и обществе.
First, we can consider the teaching about man and society.
Второе. Соционика – это практическая методика оперативной диагностики и прогнозирования.
Second, it may be a practical technique to facilitate prompt analysis and prognosis.
Третье. Некоторые думают, что соционика – это такая хитрая схема, чтобы манипулировать людьми.
Well, some people, third, some people think it's just a clever scheme to manipulate people.
И, наконец, многие люди воспринимают соционику как интеллектуальное развлечение.
And then for some people, it's basically an intellectual pastime.
И мой вопрос к Бену в данном случае, как он считает, вот мы на данном нашем мероприятии соционику воспринимаем как из этих вариантов?
My question to Ben would be, what would you, in our meetings, what we consider socionics to be?
I believe it's a sort of a combination between psychology, sociology, and philosophy. I think classical socionics is very philosophical and sort of like metaphysical, and like the way it talks about the information elements. That's sort of like, and I think the alpha NT is very much like that. But certainly I see with Victor's approach that it is quite philosophical and what is it, rationalist, just from the German point of view.
Понятно, да, Виктор Владимирович?
Да, я в основном понял, как воспринимает Бен гуманитарную соционику, но я хочу сказать, что в основном как бы, мы воспринимаем соционику как практическую методику оперативной диагностики и прогнозирования, которая полезна каждому человеку.
Well, mostly we consider it a practical technique that can be useful for an average person. Incredibly practically useful.
I was just about to say that it is useful for, you can see how people can have communication difficulties because they value different things and which approach to take with people once you have an idea of what type they might resemble, the things that they might value. And it's sort of almost like you can take what's in Dario's book, 8 Keys to Self-Leadership, and take it to another level. And so I remember Kirill Kravchenko, who follows Victor's school. He once was asked about the purpose of socionika, and he said that it's to look at the intertype relations to help people in that way.
Понятно. Нужно переводить.
Да, я хочу продолжить. Дело в том, что Бен написал в нашем этом чате о том, что такие встречи он воспринимает как East-West Summit, как встречу Востока и Запада.
Then dubbed our meetings East-West Summit. That's what he wrote. And although it's kind of partially just having fun, but we can use it as a way to bring in some more information.
The reason I said that was to sort of like spur Carol on, because she has she has like Huxley preferences, so it can be difficult for her to turn up sometimes. So Carol has ENFP preferences, and she's a life coach, and she was like mentored by Linda Behrens. So she's a good person to have a summit between Victor and Carol Linden. Mm-hmm. So that's why I mentioned the summit.
Так, ну, Бен перечислил несколько имен.
Да.
Что он имел в виду? В том числе
что?
Беренс упомянул.
Да.
Что он имел в виду?
Он имел в виду, что для него это очень значимые имена в западной типологии. Он как бы рассматривает это как...
Сейчас мы это продолжим. Я хочу вот сейчас обратить внимание, что присоединилась Назира к нам уже. Вот. Она будет участвовать от нашей школы, кроме меня, как представитель типа S.L.I.
Okay, Nazira will participate as a member of our school, and her type is S.L.I.
И вот она уже теперь с нами.
Hi to everyone.
Hi. Добрый день.
Так, я хочу закончить свою вот это вот первичное, вступительную часть тем, что у нас соционика, так как мы представляем восточную часть мира, вот, она имеет выраженный эффект, что ли, мировоззрения. Соционика для нас – это как картина мира, вот, а не всего лишь какая-либо методика работы с людьми. Это целая картина мира.
Yeah. Since our school is an Eastern school, for us, socionics is part of our mindset and our philosophy. It's not just a tool for particular problems.
Хорошо, теперь будем продолжать. Переходим, собственно говоря, к теме сравнения двух типов, мастер и посредник. Но вначале я проведу это сравнение по ключевым словам, а затем уже подробно по списку вот, из 10 пунктов. Но сначала по 4 ключевым словам, которые передают тип с разных сторон.
Now, before we can have a detailed cross-examination of two types, I want to analyze them using specific keywords.
Для того, чтобы образ типа охарактеризовать с разных сторон, я буду использовать 3 ключевых слова, которые передают преимущества типа, и одно слово, которое представляет для людей этого типа как препятствие в их жизни.
So I'll use 3 keywords for constructive differences and 1 keyword for an obstacle, an issue.
Посредник по ключевым словам получает вот такую последовательность. Первое – это удовольствие.
The keywords for SEI are
это удовольствие.
Pleasure.
Затем круг друзей.
Circle of friends.
Затем уживчивость.
Easy going.
Но ему мешает быстрая истощаемость, утомляемость.
Easily drained.
А в целом у посредника слабы те функции, которые отвечают за жесткую конкуренцию.
Generally, the mediator type, as we call it, is lacking the functions which are instrumental in competing with other people in tough competition, which is the business logic and the power sensing.
Да, правильно. Именно эти 2 функции. А теперь берем мастера вот, и выстраиваем его цепочку ключевых слов по принципу 3+1.
Now, for SLI, the 3 and 1 keywords would be.
Первое – это удобный порядок.
Comfortable structure.
Второе – это ловкость.
Agility.
Третье – это самооборона.
Self-defense or self-reliance.
Но больше всего страдает мастер от скуки.
And the issue for SLI is being easily bored.
У мастера получаются слабыми те функции, которые отвечают за эмоциональную экспрессию и принуждение, а если это соединить, то за манипуляцию людьми.
The master craftsman, as we call this type, is lacking in functions which are the ethics of emotion, which is responsible for emotional expressiveness, and power sensing, which helps you enforce your decisions. And therefore, they are not very good at manipulating people.
I just have a quick question.
Okay.
I thought I heard that the mediator and the craftsman, that their F function or their extroverted sensing is the ignoring function. Actually, I'm talking about model A, but in model G, I think it's, what is it? The control function. And I thought that was like a strong function, but it's an ignoring function and it's not something you value. And on Ben's part, he seems to say that it's not a very strong function. So I guess I'm saying what the difference is.
Я понял вопрос. Речь идет о сравнении с моделью А, правильно? Вот. Там, конечно, различия есть по сравнению с моделью G, которой я пользуюсь. Но сразу могу сказать, что и нумерация функций тоже не совпадает. Поэтому получается, что различия есть. У нас, допустим, две функции, получается, вместе образуют блок слабых функций. Это 7-я и 8-я. Вот для мастера это получается силовая сенсорика и эмоции. Вот так получается по модели G, а по модели А не так.
In the model G, which is, like you said, it's different from model A, and the control function in model G is one of the two weakest functions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. As Ben always specifies, it may be very strong in theory, but in practice, and when you act out of your own needs, it may be very weak and inefficient.
Okay.
It's a different question when you act in the group setting.
Yeah, there are certain types where this control, I mean, Victor, the way Victor describes it is very high in information and very low in energy. And this is, there's a lot of this in Carl Jung's book, The Psychology of Individuation, which a lot of people know as psychological types, where Carl Jung described a process running in the background called an accompaniment. So in the extroverted thinking dominance, he talked about an accompaniment of introverted thinking. And when he described the introverted thinking type, he said that running in the background is an accompaniment of TE, but it's just running in the background. It's not got a lot of energy for it. And a lot of the INTPs in the West, the MBTI INTPs, Kersey INTPs, one of the things about which they very much like Victor's LII analyst profile is when they read the control function about the extroverted thinker, and they think that really captures their type. Right. Point made.
Okay.
Хорошо, что Бен ответил с этими примерами. Вот здесь хорошо видно, что у мастера функция, за которой он следит и которая его напрягает больше всего, это силовая сенсорика. Вот. Это больше его угнетает, чем эмоция. А теперь давайте перейдем к сравнению.
It's good that Ben brought up these examples, and on these examples you can also see that the power sensing is maybe the more bothersome function for SLI in more than his emotions, because it's constantly monitored. So it's it's paid more attention to, so it's more bothersome.
Is another reason for that mirror is because it's got a negative charge, and that the SLI has less emotional control than SEI mediator?
No, Victor was just comparing break and control function and saying that control function may be more disturbing.
Oh, I see what you mean, yes.
Восьмая функция просто, которая у нас контрольная, да, тип ее контролирует, и если у мастера есть некий предел, если он превышен этот предел, то у него следует жесткая реакция гораздо больше, чем по эмоциям.
А что вы имеете в виду под пределом, превышением предела?
Ну вот силовая обстановка. Допустим, на мастера оказывается силовое воздействие, да, это первое. Второе, как бы эмоциональное воздействие оказывается. Что он дольше выдержит. Он дольше выдержит просто он дольше, вернее, быстрее ответит на силовое воздействие, а эмоции его просто будут тормозить, выключать. Вот. А силовая сенсорика вызовет ответную реакцию.
Yes, Victor is saying that we can compare the response to the stimulating the function. For instance, if the master craftsman is in the situation when he experiences some power pressure, he will respond quickly as soon as he feels overloaded. But if he's experiencing uncomfortable emotional atmosphere, it will just slow him down. So there will be no hostile response.
Теперь давайте перейдем к 10 существенным различиям, которые я в виде таблицы вот представил, чтобы проследить разницу между этими двумя типами, хотя они родственные по сенсорике. Вот с этой сенсорикой.
So now to the 10 differences that I put in the table for this meeting, which can help us distinguish between these types, which are relatively similar because they have the same management function.
I was just thinking, because we've got Nazira here, maybe I don't know if she wants to comment on what Victor just described about the emotional.
Oh, great. Really, I was thinking to comment for that. So, for example, about F minus, the force, I agree with this personally, because when it's there is a limit for the aggression that I can accept in the environment, or how to say, if I see any aggression regarding to myself or to my close people, there is a limit when I start to react, and the reaction can be very dramatic, which is opposite to the emotions. When I can, or I face a lot of emotions, sometimes it blocks me, so I can't even go to sleep. So it's like I can be, how to say, fully blocked, and psychologically I will not be able to react at all. So this is the main differences between E plus and F minus.
Nazira, I have a question for you. It's related to something that Dario Nardi noticed in a certain type. Now, they don't correspond perfectly with Victor's types, but there's something that Dario noticed through his research with the MBTI and Kersey ISTJ, and that he talks about a region behind the left ear where it's very attentive to social feedback, and they can very much feel the emotions on other people just based on their facial expressions. Even if it has nothing to do with them, they still sort of like internalize the emotion that they see on somebody else's face. I wondered if that's the case for you.
I call it like a scanner function. So I can scan the environment where I'm located in. So I'm very sensitive to any kind of, how to say, not really emotion, but how the people feel right now. So maybe I will not understand why they feel bad, good, or I mean, various. but I will definitely feel if they are not comfortable or something worries them. So it's like, I don't know, it's like internal scanning functions. So I manage, because it's very difficult, especially when you go to the crowded places. I managed to try to switch off this function or make it less. So if you are talking about that, did I get your question?
Pretty much. I'll just like to say to people, what I did is I tried to, a year or so ago, we did a comparison between the sensory introverts in Socionica and the sensory introverts in the West. And so people might be wondering what these colors are for. We were sort of like, so in this example, I compared S.L.I with MBTI and Kersey ISTJ. And so the bits which are consistent, there are very much different. In fact, this is more like the Western ISTP, artisan, because it's like you've got master craftsman, artisan crafter. So they even have the similar name. It's just that in this, there's just the bits that I think are similar to MBTI ISTJ are in green, and then the bits which are sort of like not inconsistent are in black and blue, and then there's bits that you'll see elsewhere in red, which are like totally different. And then where I've underlined it, it just means, oh, sounds more like the quasi-identical. So it'll sound more like ISTP, artisan. So enough of that. This is about Victor's School of Socionics. Back to Victor.
Ну что, будем продолжать сравнение двух типов. Оба типа заботливы. Но давайте начнем с посредника, как это проявляется у него.
The two types are what we call caregiving types. Let's start with SEI to see how it works with them.
Посредник направлен на создание уюта и получение удовольствий.
The mediator is about creating coziness and comfort and getting positive impressions.
Создание
Creating
получения
pleasure.
удовольствий именно в первую очередь через еду. Поэтому для него свойственно кулинарное искусство, например.
And the easiest means to create pleasure is cooking art. So it's typical for SEI to cook well. And
Особое внимание в кулинарном искусстве посредник уделяет приправам.
They pay a lot of attention to spices.
Для него приятно не только сам процесс поедания еды, но и приготовление блюда доставляет ему удовольствие, должно доставлять удовольствие.
Typically, they like not just the outcome, but the process of making food.
Он склонен к тому, чтобы блюда украшать, чтобы они были не только вкусные, но еще и хорошо выглядели, украшать.
They like elaborate presentation of food, decoration.
И особенно хорошо у него получается из кулинарного искусства это выпечка, а также блюда, которые сладкие.
They may prefer and pay special attention to baking and other festive foods, or especially sweets.
Теперь берем тип мастер. У него немножко по-другому это проявляется. Знак здесь обязательно влияет. В частности, у мастера это создание удобств, не столько удовольствий, сколько удобств. То есть
SLI has different function charges, and the way it affects the function is they focus on convenience and comfort as applied to the process as applied to logistics and the process of working.
После создания удобств идет поддержание здоровья.
Also, it's about maintaining health and the optimal fitness.
Поэтому еда для него должна быть обязательно сбалансирована по своим ингредиентам. Сбалансированное питание, в отличие от посредника, который в сторону, чтобы было вкусно, например, злоупотребляет там специями или сладостями. А у мастера должно быть сбалансированное по всем компонентам питания.
So SLI always likes to have their food, their diet balanced and nutritious, unlike SEI, which focuses on the taste and generally on the sensations.
У него еда имеет еще выраженную функцию восстановления работоспособности. Восполнение сил, восстановление работоспособности. Вот для чего нужна еда. Для здоровья и для работоспособности.
For SLI, food is one of the means of getting in shape for optimal work performance.
Особое внимание уделяется качеству продуктов, а процесс сервировки вторичен для мастера.
So for SLI, the way the food is presented and eaten is not as critical as for SEI, but they pay a lot of attention to sourcing and choosing their food, and they like to cook it to make sure that the nutritional qualities are preserved.
I have a quick question for Victor. Does he think that the SEI can pay more attention to somebody when they're ill than when they are well?
Я понял вопрос Бена, но сейчас как раз второй пункт пойдет о лечении больных. Забота о больном человеке. Сейчас будет этот пункт.
That's what we are about to talk of. So we'll cover it in the next few minutes.
Посредник. У него лечение – это выхаживание больного и забота об его индивидуальных потребностях.
So SEI, when they have a sick person, they mostly take care of a person rather than a condition.
Выхаживание в том числе через соответствующее проявление отношения к человеку.
So they pay attention to individual needs and tendencies and even the emotional needs.
Индивидуальная опека по отношению к нему.
So they are about doting attention.
А также включение его в общение с окружающим. Для посредника очень важно, чтобы человек выздоравливал. Признак выздоровления, он начинает общаться с окружающими. Поэтому подкреплять его интерес к общению с окружающим. Вот что делает посредник.
So SEI, because they believe that a sign of recovery is the return of the interest to socialization, they will help the person by involving him in socialization and talking to other people. It's I will add from myself that it's very interesting because the SEI is a right spinning type, and for left spinning types, sometimes they have more interest in socialization when they're sick. So it's not a sign of recovery.
Сейчас мы пока не говорим о правом-левом, вращении функции, это у нас будет другая встреча.
And Victor is saying that we will not elaborate on that because it's a subject for another discussion, for another meeting.
Другая встреча, Бен уже запланировал, left-right spinners, у нас это будет. А сейчас...
Okay, let's hope we'll eventually have it.
I just make a quick point that this type, SEI, is very similar to the Kersey ISFJ, and they actually wrote here about the fact that they do put more attention on somebody who's written, giving happily of themselves to those in need, although curiously, their interest may wane when the recipient is no longer in trouble. I've just put that consistent with SI minus. Right, back on track.
В данном случае работает сенсорика с минусом. Это значит вот именно избавление от страданий. Вот, а потом R+ идет, то есть этика отношений положительная. Это включить в систему отношений с окружающими. Вот так человек выздоравливает для посредника. А у мастера идет с логикой. Но если взять, значит, его функцию, у него лечение получается путем применения передовой какой-то техники, медикаментов, процедур и манипуляций.
Victor is saying that
Потому
for
что
SEI
важно результат получить. Поэтому быстрое лечение путем нужных манипуляций и процедур современными средствами и медикаментами.
Let's compare it to S.L.I, which tries to use the most advanced methods he or she knows to achieve the outcome, to make the person feel well again. And they don't have that social side to their treatment.
Получается, для мастера важна диагностическая часть, быстро различить симптом и отреагировать на него тут же.
So for SLI, the important part is prompt diagnostic, noticing the symptoms and responding to them on time.
Уход за человеком, больным человеком, происходит без излишеств и без сантиментов.
So the taking care of the sick person does not have sentimental side. And it's like the minimally necessary for the result they're looking for. There is no frills.
I was just wondering, should we ask Nazira about this? Like, you know, is she no frills when she takes care of somebody? Is she just about the result?
Получается, чем больше техники используются в уходе за больным, сложные особенно техники, тем лучше для мастера. Если же за больным надо ухаживать хорошим отношением, а техника на втором месте, ну, естественно, будет лучшая медсестра, конечно же, посредник.
Еще раз, Виктор Владимирович.
Если ухаживать за больными надо с помощью современной техники, то лучше мастер справится. А если же техники мало и выхаживать надо хорошим отношением, то посредник справится лучше.
Victor is saying that if we are to pick who will be taking care of the sick person, and out of these two types, it depends on how exactly is caretaking takes place. If we need to use sophisticated technical means, then SLI is the first choice. But if it's more about recovery itself and the person needs less of the treatment and more of attention and proper humane treatment, then SEI may be the best choice. It may be the best nurse out of two.
So Farrah, are you more like, what are you more like? Because Victor diagnosed you as S.L.I. Not that it's a condition.
Well, I am probably more on the diagnostic side, which is why I am a lab person, because I don't want to be the caretaker working directly with sick people and their suffering. I want to be able to help them by focusing on finding out what's wrong and being able to like basically use all my knowledge to prevent something from progressing or to get them back to health.
Я читал ответы Фары на мои вопросы, когда-то давно Бен проводил же такой hangout, вот, и я оттуда сделал заключение, что Фара работает в медицинской лаборатории, делает сложные анализы, и она как раз работает на диагностике через логику. Вот она там даже пишет о том, что она хорошо пользуется абдукцией, такой термин она даже использует. Это вот, значит, в том изложении интервью с ней, которое я получил.
Out of the interview that I got, Farrah's interview that I got, I made the conclusion that she works in the medical lab and she has high technical skills and mostly uses diagnosis, and so it's a logical tool that she mostly uses.
Давайте теперь перейдем к следующему пункту. Особенности коммуникации, ведение переговоров, например.
Now to the communication and negotiation.
Посредник умеет уговаривать людей, он чувствует их скрытые побуждения, он умеет быть дипломатичным и хорошо подстраивается под человека.
SEI can be diplomatic and accommodating. They can talk people into things that they consider right. And generally they are more persuasive.
Вот, и он каким-то образом вот чувствует, что человек хочет в данный момент.
They somehow feel the needs and motives of the person in the moment.
А вот мастер, в отличие от посредника, не склонен уговаривать. Он скорее будет заинтересовывать или объяснять вот выгоду тех предложений, которые он делает.
The SLI will not persuade someone they're talking with. They will just lay out all the advantages of the approach they consider right in a logical way, and try to just give the person the chance to make decision.
Если это понятно, берем следующий пункт.
To their own advantage.
Позиция в группе сейчас, в коллективе.
Now about the position, the behavior in group settings.
Посредник умеет занять среднюю позицию в любом коллективе, куда он влился. Поэтому и название посредник. Он ищет среднюю позицию и избегает крайностей.
The mediator is called thus. We call this type a mediator because they are characterized by taking the middle grounds and acting as go-betweens. They, if there is a conflict, they usually sit on the fence without joining any of the polar opposites.
И он получается, что он, как бы попав в эту серединку, он действует со всеми заодно. Он действует, в коллективе заодно.
So he is the ally of everybody in the group, no matter what stance they take.
А вот мастер, в отличие от посредника, он держится автономно и в коллективных действиях участвует избирательно.
So SLI is usually has strong convictions which they don't hide, and they act independent in the group. So they may take a stance that is opposite to the group ideas.
Свою лояльность группе не доказывает постоянным участием во всех их коллективных мероприятиях. Не стремится доказать свою лояльность, участвуя во всех их мероприятиях.
So they don't try to prove loyalty to the group or don't act out of moral support to the group. So they don't necessarily join all the group activities, only those which they consider advantageous to their own interests.
Так, если это понятно, следующий пункт, когда люди этих типов чувствуют себя счастливыми.
So now let's talk about the things that make them happy.
Вот для посредника счастье – это простые каждодневные или повседневные радости, приятное общение с родными и близкими друзьями. В этом для него заключается счастье. Простые каждодневные радости, приятное общение с родными и близкими друзьями.
For SEI, the main source of happiness is the everyday positive impressions, like nature or communication with the chosen circle, people they consider their chosen ones. So it's mainly about positive impressions and the tight connections.
А вот смотрите, для мастера немножко по-другому выглядит счастье. Для него счастье связано в первую очередь с удобным порядком, бодрым самочувствием, активным отдыхом, и есть разнообразие выбора, а значит, он не скучает.
For S.L.I, it's slightly different. They pay more attention to how they feel internally as far as health, and it's not just not being sick. They have a very a very complex idea of what they consider to be well and fit. It's like a positive concept, and if they function well, if they're well and fit, it also includes the house logistics. If something's wrong in the house, it's also part of not being well. So basically, happiness is a comfortable structure and feeling fit and well.
Еще хочу вот как бы добавить, если кратко, то это хорошее самочувствие должно быть. Вот, должен быть баланс работы и отдыха, и должен быть разнообразный выбор. Тогда чувствовать себя хорошо мастер.
So that also includes balance between work and play and the variety of options for of leisure options.
То есть для того, чтобы чувствовать, да, правильно, для того, чтобы чувствовать себя счастливым, мастер более требователен гораздо, чем посредник. Более требователен к разнообразию, к балансу разных сторон жизни, чем посредник.
They pay more attention to the balance of different sides of life, and they need to have they really need to have options. They need to have freedom of choice in their leisure activities. and stock of options to choose from.
Так, следующий пункт уже будет 6-й у нас, касается, как происходит общение с неприятными людьми.
How do they communicate with people they don't like?
Посредник. Ему трудно порвать с человеком, ему трудно резко отдернуть человека. Вот. И не всегда получается избавиться от назойливых собеседников или непрошенных гостей. То есть он не рвет резко.
SEI will, as a feeling type, they find it hard to door slam or even reprimand the person. It's also difficult to get rid of a clingy person or an unwelcome visitor.
Получается, что посредник боится, что к нему прилипнут, вот, боится, потому что он не может так сразу отшить. Поэтому он боится, чтобы как бы его не грузили, не прилипали, ему очень трудно от человека избавиться.
So sometimes it makes them to not encourage connections in the first place because they are scared that they will be hard to get rid of.
Farrah, because you seem like a nice person. You seem like more. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that because the zero is S.L.I. But you seem to be more on the left than the right. Which one do you relate to more with number 6 on the screen?
Number 6.
Let me look at. I have to click the screen here. Okay.
Yep.
Let's see. Number 5.
No, number 6 about the dealing with people.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Probably more on the left side. Because I don't like the possibility of a conflict. So I don't like trying to be the bad person. So if I have to get rid of people, it can be difficult for me. So I tend to not engage in the first place. But I have also at times been the blunt person that like if I don't care like too much about what they think about me, like a salesman coming to my door, I'll basically just say no, I'm not interested, and then I have no problem just shutting the door and letting them go.
Well, there is one thing that complicates the question. First of all, S.L.I. is also a questioning type, and the S.E.I. is a declaring type. And they, as far as like doing something with, like in the moment, it may be exactly as it says here, but in the long run, SEI are less likely to keep connections they believe are outdated.
Дело в том,
because
что
questioning types, да?
Сейчас не об этом идет речь. Речь идет о том, что опять-таки один левый, другой правый, один более плавный. Вот. И он, если втянулся в процесс, ему уже трудно оттуда выйти. Вот. А мастер левый, он более резкий. То есть, если ему неприятно общение, он не будет конфликтовать, конечно. Он просто может резко выйти. Уйти просто-напросто даже. Хотя это неудобно, вот, и неэтично. Но он может просто уйти, потому что вот это общение ему кажется неприятным или ненужным.
Yeah. Now, Victor is commenting on this point of Ben and Farrah, that he meant that not master craftsmen will not necessarily escalate a conflict. They just can disappear if the person is disturbing for them. Although they may be letting the person down and So which might be an obstacle for an SEI.
I think I do have that disappearing quality, actually. It's kind of a problem with my relationships with people.
I just can also confirm I have problems with the relationship with the people. That's okay. That's normal for us.
Так, проблема отношений с людьми еще может определяться вариантом типа. Вот, об этом в конце тоже поговорим. А сейчас давайте возьмем, чем они отличаются в работе руками.
We will talk about type variations and how they affect the behavior sometime later, but now we can talk about manual labor.
Посредник работает руками плавно и неторопливо, потому что втягивается в процесс. Плавно и неторопливо, втягиваясь в процесс.
The mediator works in the smooth and hurried way because he gets into the he's in the process. So they don't care as much about speed.
Если он втянулся, то ему трудно вот бросить, прерваться, а потом опять вернуться. Он к этому плохо относится. Вот если втянулся, он будет делать.
So if he gets sucked into the process, he will not drop it for something else. He will go ahead until he's done.
Как работает мастер? Он работает быстрее посредника, вот, и более ловко, хотя и не плавно, в отличие, если сравнить, допустим, вот как работает, но я наблюдал, допустим, как работает посредник, там, зубной врач, стоматолог, да, и как работает мастер. Посредник медленно работает, втянувшись в процесс плавно. Мастер работает быстрее гораздо, но резче работает. Вот. И результат получает быстрее затраты.
If you compare it to how SLI works, there will be more focus, like less smoothness, because the master craftsman can go in and out of the process, but more focus on speed. They like how fast they work. They can work.
Так что мастер работает быстро и ловко, хотя не плавно. Посредник медленнее, зато плавнее работает. В этом разница.
So SLI works fast and with greater dexterity, generally faster, but less smooth.
Идеально, конечно, было бы посмотреть это реально вот в жизни, как один и тот же ручной процесс выполняет эти два типа. Но пока что у нас нет такой возможности. Разве что была бы лаборатория, интересно было бы сравнить.
I wish we could see it side by side, but right now we don't have that opportunity.
Следующий пункт. Принятие решений. Как принимает решения посредник и мастер?
Making decisions.
Для посредника принять четкое решение в трудном вопросе бывает нелегко. Потому что у
For
него...
SEI,
Да, давайте эту часть.
It's hard to make a decision in complex circumstances.
Потому что у него возникает много ассоциаций и подробностей, они наслаиваются и сталкиваются между собой.
Because they get kind of lost in all the factual detail that they acquired over time.
Поэтому
And
трудно
that bulk of detail slows them down.
Мастер, в отличие от посредника, решение принимает быстро, так как он, анализируя ситуацию, отбрасывает лишние детали несущественные. Посредник не умеет этого делать.
The difference between SLI and SEI is that SLI can get rid of unnecessary details, so they make decisions fast because of that.
It's got here about them following SEI mediator following a rigorous procedure. I think does that come into play with this, with their methods of work or approach to it?
What do you mean?
Well, if they're following a rigorous procedure, then that's going to affect their approach to maybe making a decision. So, for example, they might make a decision based on, oh, what have I done in the past? What is the expected thing? Things that they've read about. What would the by the book approach be to making this decision? Whereas S.L.I, I get the impression that they would like to improvise more, depending on the specifics of the situation.
Это в какой ситуации происходит?
I'll go back to the table. Awkward moments.
I'm trying to see where that rigorous procedure. Okay, it's on the right.
Oh, I'll go back. Yeah. Oh, on here. Right.
Так, теперь давайте посмотрим состояние, которое я называю плохое самочувствие. Плохое самочувствие. Что делает посредник, если у него плохое самочувствие?
Yeah, the thing is, oh, someone's dropped out. Yeah, the thing is there, find it hard to make decision in complex circumstances. Oh yeah, right, okay. But I think that also might be that they follow a rigorous procedure. And so when they've not got that procedure, they're not able to improvise. Whereas the S.L.I master is used to improvising. Oh, didn't it?
Да, имеется в виду, что если посредник считает, что должен следовать за процедурой, должен следовать определенной методике, то он применяет тот же критерий к принятию решений, что может его замедлять.
Да.
Вот про это Бен, по-моему, спрашивал.
Но я имел в виду, что ситуация такая сложная, что нельзя применить уже известный метод какой-то. Это абсолютно новая ситуация. То посреднику в этой ситуации намного труднее принять решение, чем мастеру, так как он не умеет отсеивать несущественные детали.
Yeah, so Victor is saying that the complex circumstances means that the existing procedure cannot be applied.
Дело в том, что
первое,
что сенсорики, интровертные сенсорики принимают решения, исходя из своего опыта. За опыт и отвечает, собственно говоря, вот эта интровертная сенсорика отвечает за опыт. А если в этом опыте ничего нет, вот, то тогда надо принимать решение как? По логике, например. То есть выстраивать какие-то суждения, сравнения. Вот. А у посредника эта функция намного слабее работает, чем у мастера. Кроме того, она не настроена на отсеивание, она настроена на то, чтобы конструировать, выстраивать имеющиеся данные, а не отсеивать лишнее, как у мастера.
Victor said that all introverted sensory management types use their experience as the main tool. Because that's what SI basically is, experience. And if their experience does not cover current situation, they need to use something, and they need to use something else for making decisions. That's something else, maybe, for instance, that something else is usually logic, and logic of SEI is not as powerful as logic of an SLI.
There's also another thing at play is like with the functions where you have with S.L.I, you've got this powerful L minus, what is it, logic of fractal structure, and then with SEI mediator, you've got the launcher of the L plus, which is more logic of uniform structure. And so
yes, Victor said that too. I just didn't translate it.
Okay.
He said that the logic is also different, has different charge, So it's not only weaker, but it's also not built to cut off the unnecessary and non-essential.
Мы еще к этим двум разным логикам вернемся.
We'll go back to this, comparing these two kinds of logic.
Когда сравним нейроактивность зоны F4 и F5, зона F4 и F5.
We will be talking about logic when comparing different regions, F4 and F5.
Вот F4, который у Farrah работает, да, я посмотрел в ее материалах F4, Weighted Classifier называется, F4. Это как раз вот больше похоже на левую логику, как у аналитика. А правая логика, как у инспектора, это работает в симметричной зоне F5. А у Farrah в F4 больше активности.
The region F4, which is one of the Farrah's active regions, is resembling the logic of left spinning types. The logic similar to the SLI logic, but the SEI would have the logic similar to the logic of LSI, the logic of rules and construction. That may be one of the reasons there are so many lawyers SEI. Just my comment. Because legal logic is the plus logic, the LSI logic.
Теперь давайте возьмем действия при плохом самочувствии. По-разному выходят из плохого самочувствия. Мастер не так, как посредник.
What do the types do when feeling unwell?
Потом, пусть, когда мы вернемся, вот сейчас посмотрим еще раз, зона F4 в правом находится полушарие, F4. Вот эта зона у Farrah работает, F4. Это больше похоже на левую логику. А вот F5, которая находится, вернее, где эти зоны? Сейчас я еще раз смотрю. F4 есть, да. F4 в правом полушарии, а F5 в левом полушарии.
Oh, since you're showing it, Farrah's active region is F4, which is in the
это в правом полушарии.
Which hemisphere?
Правый.
Yeah, in the right hemisphere.
Полушарие, да. А F5 находится нечетные все числа в левом полушарии.
While F5 is in the left hemisphere.
Так, значит, ну давайте к плохому самочувствию возвращаемся. Значит, если плохо себя чувствует посредник, он перестает общаться и удаляется, чтобы отоспаться, и полностью, ему надо полностью расслабиться, например, как бы погрузиться в глубокий сон.
When SEI are feeling unwell, they try to distance themselves from other people. They want to fully relax and kind of ignore everything around them.
И часто просто для них это значит хорошо выспаться.
Sometimes just have a really good sleep.
А вот для мастера, чтобы избавиться от плохого самочувствия, нужно взбодриться, не расслабиться, а наоборот взбодриться, размяться, сменить обстановку, получить новые ощущения.
So for SLI, it may be very different. They will like to give themselves a kind of kick, to get new impressions, to just go out and do something.
То есть, если совсем просто, да, вот плохое самочувствие посредника, он пошел, закрылся и спит себе, а у мастера плохое самочувствие, он взял, например, там лыжи и пошел кататься в лес. И таким образом его настроение улучшается.
So if SEI is not feeling well, they will mostly go sleep, and for SLI, for when they're not feeling well, they may just go ski or run or something like that. Refresh with a physical activity.
И, наконец, сравнение в близких отношениях. Близкие отношения. Посредника называют художником в любви. Даже есть такое выражение в одной из характеристик. Посредник – это художник любви.
And in close relationships and loving relationships, they're also different. SEI is artistic in love.
То есть имеется в виду, что он умеет доставить наслаждение себе и своему партнеру.
So they can both enjoy and please the partner. And it's the easy side for them.
А вот мастер нуждается в эмоциональной поддержке со стороны своего партнера, потому что без этой поддержки ему трудно раскрепоститься.
S.L.I can be artistic as well, but they need the relationship support. They need the support of the partner to relax and feel at ease so they can be what they are.
Ему нужна именно эмоциональная поддержка, чтобы раскрепоститься.
They need emotional support.
Да, вот так. Ну, тут понятна разница в логике этики между ними. Ну, и еще я хотел бы коснуться, значит, тех данных, которые получила Farrah, когда прошла сессию в лаборатории и получила данные энцефалограммы.
Let's focus on Farrah's data from the EEG.
Okay.
Получается, что в этом отчете, который составил Dario, я так понимаю, Farrah преобладает больше всего активной зоны, которая называется PZ. Это Observant Technician.
Dario Nardi's report says about Farrah that her most active region is EZ, also called Analyzer Operator.
Называется Observant Technician у него.
Observing Technician, yeah.
Да.
Sorry.
PZ. Это посередине находится, по средней линии, не слева, не справа, а по средней линии. Поэтому Z это индекс, когда по средней линии находится. А если нечетное, то в левом полушарии, если четное, то в правом полушарии. И вот получается, у нее эта зона особенно активна. Что говорит...
So this region is the most active with Farrah.
Что, скорее всего, говорит о том, что у нее есть именно вот эти технико-управленческие способности.
That means that out of different discussion, what we call discussion clubs, these type specializations, we are likely to put her with the practical types, the sensory thinkers.
Я думаю, что если бы Farrah имела бы тип посредник, у нее должна была быть активность в зоне Т5. Была бы активна в зоне Т5, которая так и называется чувствительный посредник, sensitive mediator. Вот это Т5, эта зона, но у нее она вовсе не сильно активна, как у посредника должно было бы быть.
Should Farrah be the mediator, resemble mediator type more, we would expect her to be active in the zone T5, sensitive mediator.
Вот. Или зона Т5, которая отвечает за выслушивание людей и эмоциональное сочувствие тем словам, которые, или эмоциональную поддержку словами. Emotive listening называется зона Т5.
Какая зона?
Посредником Т5. возле уха слева находится, Т5 зона, которая отвечает за эмоциональное выслушивание людей и поддержку, словесную поддержку.
А sensitive mediator это какая?
Что?
Sensitive mediator это какая?
Это
Да.
Т5. Это Т5.
То есть,
А есть
я
еще...
не поняла, какая из них Т5.
Сейчас, одну секунду. Нужно, пусть Бен откроет. Может, я как бы забыл название.
Ben, can you please open the image?
Левого уха, которое находится.
Okay. Which particular image? Is it this one with the lines?
Нет, не это. Там
The map.
Oh, the map. I see. Yeah. This one. There's a slightly more.
Да. Вот зона, которая находится возле левого уха, если можно увеличить. Т3, извините. Т3.
Okay. So also Victor says that in addition to T5, we could expect the active region T3 from the mediator, because it's responsible for listening to people. And...
Дело в том, что посредник будет выслушивать, и долго, причем будет выслушивать, а мастеру это долго трудно выдержать. Может быть, Т3, Т4, не только Т3, Т3, Т4 по-разному. Это уже, как сказать, нюансы. Т3,
Yeah,
Т4.
it may be T3 and T4. It's
Или
just
две
detail.
вместе могут работать они. Могут еще
They can work together.
Но это зона, которая отвечает за выслушивание.
Yeah, basically it's the region which is responsible for carefully listening to the person, which is easier to do for the mediator than for the master craftsman.
I've just realized that I've put TiSe in the PZ section, and Victor's master is more like the Western TiSe than the SITE, so more like the ISTP. So that's a point of consistency with the activity.
You know what, Ben? I found that I don't know what to make of Western TSC because they also mostly believe that the type is not what you're born with. It's something that is developed.
Yeah, and
that complicates it further for me.
Yeah, I was just saying there that generally, I mean, Victor's LSI profile is very much like the Western ISTJ type, and the master is pretty much like the ISTP. And so this is just the TISE from the point of view of how Dario defines it. So it's like Victor noticed the high activity in the PZ region in Farrah, and maybe, Farrah, did you get, we can now talk about the three types that Dario said that you resemble, because that is relevant.
Yeah, he said that what we're looking at when we look at this activity is a snapshot of the highest amount of basically electrical activity for those parts of the regions of the brain. Not necessarily long-term, is that something that you're necessarily good at, or that you're even born that way when you're showing just the electrical snapshot. He said the wiring, the other diagram that you have that looks like a starburst is more indicative of like what you're born with, because those wires are actually the strongest and they're the easiest, and so therefore you may not show as much activity in the parts of the brain, you know, that day that you're showing really high activity. It might not match up. So he said, like, long term, what it looked like was that because of the wiring in the back of the brain being more dense, that I was an introvert. He also said that it looked like I was feeling preferences, and that I was intuitive dominant because of the starburst pattern activating all parts of my brain at once. So the red lines are the ones that are more strong, and the T3 and T4 are connected very strong, as well as all the back and parts of the regions of the brain there. He did say that the short-term electrical activity that they did that day resembled the ISTP the most. He said that wasn't uncommon for people in my age because, you know, I'm midlife. So he said it wasn't uncommon to kind of branch out and start working on the parts of your brain that you may not have had a natural preference for. So that's,
yeah, I mentioned to Victor, it's just like John Grinder in like he was always talking about the unconscious. Now the thing for intuition of time, introverted intuition. I've got a theoretical question for you, Farrah. When you talk about wiring, is this something that Dario actually saw, or was it inferred and then correlated with other bits of knowledge? So for instance, it might have been, oh, these regions are connected because of this, or did he actually see the wiring? I mean, how do we actually know about that the wiring is there? Is it from other research?
well, he studies the circuits, and I don't know what kind of computer programming that he uses with the EEGs. And this is all based on his correlations with what wiring goes with what type are all based on the correlations. And if his premise that this person isn't that type, then this all falls apart. So like, let's say that he's based all this starburst wiring on what he thinks are intuitive dominant folks, but what if they really aren't intuitive dominant, you know, their type really isn't that. So now we've based all these correlations of these wirings based off of a premise that may not actually be true.
What I'll say about that is Dario has said that he's very, very careful with that at least in the Nardi system that people are a clear type. And I think he says that he looks at the Behrens equivalent of the Kersey temperament. He looks at like the interaction style. He has them take an inventory. I think he also interviews them as well. And I think he only sort of like uses those people who are very clearly that he's pretty confident of them resembling that type as sort of like the basis of to sort of like come to form is an opinion of what the activity is associated with a particular type. And then also he really takes into account someone's career and their education, because it can very much leave its mark on the brain.
Oh, I just wanted to say that if I got it right, what you guys were just talking about, it's consistent with what Dario says about left and right, like left-handers, because he said that sometimes the brain activity may point to the like intuitive functions as preferential, but if you talk to the person in depth and find out that they're actually a sensory type.
Yeah, and I can give you a good example of this. Victor's probably heard of him. Paul McCartney. Lots of people think he's intuitive, but lots of people, like from the Kersey point of view, will say, oh, he's ISFP. It's just a left-handed ISFP. And also, Dario said that in about half of the people who are left-handed, that their brain imagery is sort of like switched around, a mirror image of, say you got the same type, left-handed and right-handed, it's just like it's switched across. But he said that half of the time with the left-handers, they have like a unique brain activity. And for a while, Dario was discriminatory and he thought, oh, I'm not going to bother analyzing left-handers. But now he actually does analyze the left-handers.
Yeah, and I mean, my take-home message was that a person can actually like brain activity and consequently behavior can be from one type, and the long-held preferences may be from completely another type.
Right.
So I try to be very careful when determining a person's type, just because of that, because the behavior may be very clearly from one type, and you don't know if it's the correct one.
Maria, have you, because you've taught painting with young children, and I wonder if you've noticed the difference between the left-handed children and the right-handed children.
Well, the left-handers are usually more quirky in general. They're weirder.
So maybe you could ask Victor about this. Has he noticed differences between left-handed and right-handed people?
Виктор Владимирович, если вы готовы к не относящимся к делу вопросам.
Я сейчас отвечу на право-лево руки, да. Вот я хочу сказать, вот последний еще по сравнению, вот так как, ну, Фарру можно наблюдать, ее хорошо видно лицо, движение. Вот что я обращаю внимание и вижу, что хорошо выраженный восприимчиво-адаптивный темперамент. Это видно по движениям глаз. Хорошо выраженный восприимчиво-адаптивный темперамент. У нее это раз.
So before we go to left-right question, we can say about Farrah that he observed Farrah for a while, and he can say that by the eye movement and the general behavior, he can state that she has receptive adaptive temperament.
И затем логика или этика, допустим, ну, сенсорика или интуиция. Это видно по концентрации зрачка, когда человек в пространстве, допустим, смотрит, такой взглядом что-то ищет, насколько у него сконцентрированный зрачок. У сенсориков и интуитов это разные физиологические реакции. У интуита глаз получается такой, ну, как бы он смотрит и не видит, сквозь. А у Фарры хорошо видно, что у нее взгляд направлен четко на предмет, что для меня является надежным признаком того, что она сенсорик, а не интуит. Вот, она сконцентрирована, четко видит тот предмет, который ей нужен, а не сквозь него, как интуит это часто делает, и не с первого раза.
So if we also look at the pupils and how they are focused, the sensory types tend to look straight at the object, and the intuitive types kind of look around it or through it. And Farrah's way of looking is more of a sensory type.
Вот. И, наконец, можно оценить логика или этика, можно оценить по мимике в целом. Вот. И получается, что многие признаки мимики лицевых мышц у Фарры, как у логика, а не как у этика. Ну, например, ее характер улыбки. Вот. У нее улыбка, например, если она ее сдерживает, то получается одной стороной, одним уголком рта, как бы в сторону получается. Вот. Это характеризует логика интровертов. Они часто так улыбаются, вот, контролируя улыбку, и она идет только в одну сторону.
So the face dynamics also the face dynamics, the way the person smiles, for instance, can also say a thing or two. With thinking types, there is sometimes the one-sided smile, like the controlled smile, which goes mostly to one side, and that's what we see with Farrah.
То есть вот уже вот этих наблюдений вполне достаточно, чтобы прикинуть ее тип, поскольку темперамент хорошо виден, плюс хорошо видна установка, то есть видна логика и сенсорика, которые работают вместе. Отсюда получаем сенсорно-логический интроверт, потому что это управленческий тип с восприимчиво-адаптивным темпераментом.
So if we were to make conclusions out of this data, I would say that it's a practical practical type, which is a sensory thinker with the receptive adaptive temperament.
If people want to know more about the receptive adaptive temperament, if they go through the playlist and look for VG number 4, then we focus on the receptive adaptive temperament, and we also go through, and Victor also goes through the other temperaments. Linear assertive and flexible active and balanced stable. There, I remembered them all. Over, but not out. Right, I've got. Are you there, Maria? Right. So, is there anything in these results that Victor would like to particularly look at, or that he thinks he should draw attention to?
Виктор Владимирович, вы хотите что-то сказать об этих результатах конкретно?
Ну вот я уже сказал, могу еще. Вот посмотрим на эту картинку, пусть остановит ее Бен, видите? Вот на первом месте стоит вот эта картинка, которая только что была, нет, там, где перечислены вот зоны в порядке следования.
Ben,
На
can
первом
you...
месте Z стоит, не это, вот там, где перечислены названия этих зон в порядке следования, как они выражены.
The names of zone, names of regions as they...
Там, где они списком поданы, списком.
Yeah, the list of regions as in the order of importance.
Именно для Farrah.
Ah, right.
For Farrah.
Right, that'd be this.
Там, где они проранжированы. Вот там
Is it
есть
this one?
с объяснениями, следующую. С объяснениями.
After that.
Oh, after that. The one with the sort of like the spider diagram showing the
with
wiring.
explanations.
Но
She
это
said
все,
the next one
которые
with
показаны в
explanation.
виде гистограммы, а там они просто списком перечислены, где начинается с PZ.
Just a list of explanations for every region.
Ah, okay, got those here. Here we go, yeah.
Да, вот такого типа. Нет, не всех, а именно для Farrah как.
Just for
Это для
Farrah.
всех.
Oh,
Это
right,
для
okay.
всех, а именно для Farrah выставлено.
It's like 2 over, I think. No, it's like 2 over from where you were just now.
Right, so not this one at the moment. This one here?
Нет.
No.
Просто был перечень, и начиналось с PZ, и картинка
Right.
была слева.
There was
маленькая,
just a list starting from PZ.
Yeah, keep going. It's towards the right.
Not this one here, not the bar chart. This one?
No.
Нет, вот уже она пролетела была. Нет. Это
Was it
Before that.
No. Go to
This
the
one?
left. No, go to the left.
That one? There's just the comedy one.
2 over. 2
Нет.
to the left. There.
Всё,
There you go.
пролетели. Это не относится к материалу.
Oh, wait. That's not it.
Короче,
Okay.
там на первом месте стоит зона PZ, на втором месте стоит F4. А это вот...
Wait, what's PZ?
Yeah, it has PZ and F4 and so on.
F4
Okay.
как вторая стоит.
Ah, here we go. Oh, PZ. Oh, well, we got FZ. I need
That's
to...
not the one that's specific to my scan. That's one that is
Oh,
more
here we go.
general.
Yeah, this is just the general one here. There we go. The one we have specifically for Farrah, these sort of like...
Нет, а список это не относится ко всем, а именно конкретно к Farrah. Там у нее на первом месте вот именно...
Yeah,
вот
yeah, there was a list just for Farrah that was starting with PZ and then F4.
Right, is it the blue bar charts? Is it this one?
Нет. Ну ладно.
Right.
There was a
Okay,
page right after that.
Right,
Right after
we will, if we go through it in order, we're bound to get there. So it's not, is it this one? Right, so if it's not that one, is it this one?
No.
Is it that one?
No.
Is it that one? No. We know it's not that one.
No.
And then we've got this one.
Yeah, wait, that's it.
Вот было. Вот
That's it.
оно было.
Just now.
Вот.
Ah,
Okay.
yes, right. So these are specific to Farrah. Ah, gotcha.
Вот.
Now I understand.
Вот это. Там первая зона PZ, вторая F4. Вот это вот показывает о том, что... Ну, это скорее логик, чем этик, конечно же, потому что это логически явно, с логическими функциями связанные зоны.
Yeah, so these regions show that there is a logical preference.
А вот следующее, если мы берем связи, да, это уже какие-то более индивидуальные особенности. Если берем не сами зоны, а связи между ними, то, что тоже есть. Вот. Ну, это я меньше знаю, потому что я как бы в книгах Дарио в основном про зоны прочитал, и я приблизительно знаю, что они означают. А вот связи между ними, это труднее, но мне кажется, это более индивидуальные особенности. И там получается что? Скорее всего, получается у Farrah сбалансированная связь между этическими и логическими функциями, баланс или связь хорошая между этикой и логикой связь.
There is a more complex but also more interesting subject of connection between regions. I don't know enough about it, but I can see that there is a balance between
Между функциями
between
этики
thinking
и
and
логики
feeling facilities for Farrah.
есть хорошая связь. Вот.
Yeah,
Что
there is a good
говорит-
connection.
что с точки зрения как бы функциональной соционики, если есть такая связь, говорит о том, что вероятен нормирующий подтип, потому что именно у него нормы этики, логические какие-то правила и этические нормы должны быть в балансе.
So from the point of view of functional socionics, it means that there may be a normalizing subtype because it's the subtype for which there is the best connection and balance between thinking and feeling.
Именно у нормирующего подтипа это хорошо связанные между собой функции. Вот. И кроме того, если там мы смотрим, есть у Farrah зона FP1, вот, это человек, который себя лучше контролирует. FP1, да, в виде весов там есть. Это левая префронтальная область, она развита у людей, которые хорошо себя контролируют.
So there's also activity in the left prefrontal region, FP1, which means that the person is good at controlling herself.
Это в сторону, как бы по соционике, в сторону более упорядоченных людей. Упорядоченное, это значит, вот нормирующие относятся к упорядоченным.
Yeah, and in socionics it means a more structured person.
Dario usually has the people who lead with a judging function with FP1, but of course people can develop. And so I could say, Farrah, you've got the endorsement from Victor as being a well-rounded person there.
That's awesome.
Thinking and the feeling.
That's great, I'll take it.
And also, when he thought of your normalizing subtype, that made me think, because I did think you had some guardian qualities, some Kersey SJ qualities with the way you interacted on Facebook.
Because I'm nice to people.
Yes. Instead of normalizing and like the use of emoticons, things like that. Because generally, I mean, as a trend, as a theme, tends to be like the FJ people who use a lot of emoticons on Facebook. But I use it as well, so I'm a wannabe FJ. Right, anyway, back to Victor. Oh yeah, we're going to use it.
Да, это было предположение по подтипу, исходя из этих нейрофизиологических данных, что может быть нормирующий подтип, потому что этика, логика сбалансированы. Вот так. И сенсорики много. Получается набор из 3 функций. Структурная логика, этика отношений, сенсорика, комфорта. Вместе, если не работают, дает нормирующий подтип.
We end up with a set of functions, the structural logic, ethics of relations, and comfort sensing, which together, as we know, give us the normalizing subtype.
И это следует из ответа на вопросы интервью, на 4 вопроса, на мои 4 вопроса, на которые Farrah отвечала. Из этого следует, что она, во-первых, очень как бы в логических дисциплинах она очень хорошо идет. Вот, философия у нее не пошла, философия и абстрактное рассуждение, которое требует интуиции. У нее совершенно не пошли.
That also follows from the answers that Farrah gave for my 4 questions. She's strong in logical subjects, but not very interested in philosophy, which requires strong intuition.
Вот. И в то же время, несмотря на техническую направленность, в то же время она сочувствует людям. Вот, и хочется оказывать людям действенную поддержку. Вот, то есть получается, несмотря на логический склад ума, вот, она может реагировать как этик по помощи. Только просто это будет в виде действия, а не в виде просто сочувствия.
So, being a thinking type, she nevertheless is interested in actively helping people and other creatures, which means that the empathy is not underdeveloped.
I think, Farrah, you identify as Enneagram type 6, and which function, and I wondered if the function that Victor correlates that to, does he see that as accentuated in Farrah?
Come again?
Okay. Victor correlates the Enneagram types with certain functions, and Farrah identifies as an Enneagram type 6.
Well, actually 9.
Okay, 9. Okay, okay. So I wonder, and I think Victor has said that 9 is quite SI-ish, quite comfort sensitive.
Значит, я понял вопрос, акцентуирная функция. Но вот получается та, которая волнует человека больше всего, через которую он хочет себя идентифицировать. Получается, это этика отношений, которая у него усилена. Поэтому и получается, что у нее 9-я энеаграмма миротворец. Она, как бы, с моей точки зрения, по функциям соответствует этике отношений.
He says that the accentuated function seems to be the ethics of relations, which gives the which contributes to the Enneagram type of the peacemaker.
Yeah, that's right.
But
yes.
He also said, and I didn't translate it on time, that the kind of help that Farrah wants to provide is not just like hearing people out or like commiserating with them. It's always, it seems to be always practical.
Farrah, what is your tri-type? Because then that might help Victor as well. I don't know how much he knows about tri-type. What's your tri-type? What do you think?
964.
Right, 964. So does Victor correlate? Oh yeah, I think Victor correlates 6. Does Victor correlate 6 with NI?
Виктор Владимирович,
Да.
у вас есть корреляция?
Ну, 6-я энеаграмма, да, 6-я. У меня это коррелирует с интуицией времени. Это скептик. Интуиция времени. Скептически настроенный человек. Скептик. 6.
Yes, he thinks the Enneagram 6 is skeptical, so it correlates with an I.
Yeah, and probably NI with a minus charge. I think I'm.
Да. Это минус Т по.
Yes, it's an I minus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have correlations for all the Enneagram types?
Yeah, I got them off somebody, so we'll be showing those during the Catherine Farber hangout.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it should be at that one.
Yeah, I'll try and put it in now. So back to everybody. I'll try and find that correlation thing. Yeah, go on, Maria.
No, I'm just asking what next.
Okay. Oh yes. Victor wrote some profiles for Elena's website, and what I like about them is he had some advice on there. So let's have a look for the one for Farrah. What do you think of these things here, Farrah? This is from Elena's website, which is aimtoknow.com, folks. And it's Elena and Victor worked on that website.
Well, I don't know how much of it's my own issues, but like, because maybe this is a global, generalized document, so not everybody will fit everything.
Yeah.
But like, in terms of financial benefits, is that saying that's a strength that I have?
Yeah, for the SLI, because the demonstrative business logic.
Oh, it's a motivation. I see. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I really am not motivated by money at all.
How about self-preservation, though?
Oh, self-preservation, I am. Yeah. But money, I just don't have much of an interest in it. Besides that, it can provide food and shelter, and after a certain point, I have no desire to just gain money for money.
I think you have said, though, that you like to progress yourself through your career, maybe so that you can get more financial stability in order for the preservation thing.
Well, I want to make more money so I can provide for my children. But that's because I'm a single parent. So I need to be able to almost earn like what two parents can earn.
Yeah.
So that's been my motivation. But had I not had children, I probably would have advanced my career only because I like to be very knowledgeable and I like to be that resource person that people can ask questions. And I can, be able to provide assistance that way. It makes me feel good if I'm competent in what I'm, working with. See, and I do understand comfort very well. I think I'm always asking, have you been fed? Are you comfortable? And just seeing how people are sitting, I can see if they need something. I do understand benefits to a lot of things. I do have this problem where emotional stability, I think I'm pretty even keel with my emotions. I don't like to show like a whole lot of emotion, but sometimes like if I'm triggered by a lot of like let's say I'm listening to very sad things or something that really touches my heart, and then I'll start crying and I can't stop, and it just looks very extreme and dramatic, and I really hate that. I wish I could control that better, but I feel like the emotion is like a tidal wave and I can't stop it. So, but it goes for hours, like it's ridiculous. I had an experience, at an Enneagram conference where I couldn't stop crying, and I'm like the only person in that whole room that is off in the corner and like sobbing and trying to control myself. But normally I'm not very dramatic or emotional or anything like that. It's just in certain cases I have those things happen. So that's been a big issue for me.
So, Farrah, with the talking about emotional control, how well do you relate to the E+ in the break?
Let's say for number one, I think I am impressionable. I don't know what psychologically closed really means, but I
think that means inexpressive.
Oh, okay.
So that people can't really see what's going on. A bit like a poker face, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess I'm more matter of fact. So I think that's why people tell me things sometimes that are kind of surprising. And, because I won't react to it. But even deep down, I might be actually thinking like, oh, my gosh. But I do share personal problems. I'm very open. But if it's a problem that, like, if I know that I start to feel like it's getting a little too emotional, like it's too touchy for me and I could start crying in front of somebody, then I won't go there because I don't want that to come up. I don't want to have to keep from crying.
So that's just to start into it. It's just that. So that is a lot of times with the break function, it can be quite ironic. So for example, in this case, the SLI will look unemotional because they're really emotional and don't want to show people that.
Yeah, I'm very emotional. Absolutely, I'm very emotional. So I'm trying to avoid touching those very sensitive emotions. Number two, I have a really hard time actually arguing at all because I know logical types are supposed to be able to make their points and be able to explain things very rationally, but I get so upset because of the argument that I shut down all my logic and I become it's just because I said so. I don't have anything to back it up. So it's kind of weird when I get into an argument. So I don't even try to get into arguments because I know I can't win.
Maria, is that a thing that's consistent with the receptive adaptive temperaments?
What exactly do you mean? Which thing?
Well, because like they can get moody and like internally dynamic. I just wonder if they get their mood gets affected with an argument, that kind of thing.
I'm not sure if we're talking about the type or subtype temperament.
Ah, right, okay.
I don't express my own feelings in public to a large degree. I don't like dramatic displays of emotion. Even, I don't know, I feel like I'm really controlled about what I will express. Facially inexpressive. I guess. Well, but when somebody says something to me, like, and I'm in a business meeting, sometimes my face will kind of give my internal thinking away when I didn't intend it to. But for the most part, I think I'm just busy trying to relay the facts and not trying to work on manipulating and persuading people, like they said. I'm much more like, I just want to be sincere and genuine, and I want to tell you the information and let you decide to buy it. And if it's a good information, then I think you should buy it. So it's not like I'm persuading.
So there's another example of it being ironic, in that the most expressive people with their face are the FE Dom. So you've got mentor and enthusiast. But they are the most expressive, but they're also probably good at hiding those emotions as well. Whereas the types that are FE break, they're not expressive, but also not as good as hiding their emotions, as you said. So again, you can get those little ironies.
Yeah, paradoxical situations. Yeah. I don't know about the whole. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
As far as giving away the thinking, it's still probably more of it's a feature of a left spinning type, because they go from like intuiting something to expressing emotions right away. So they have more telling faces.
And LSI, yes, LSI, no, SLI is left spelling, and SEI is right spelling. Yeah. Have we gone through all of these, Farrah? Have you got any more for the break E?
I do have a problem with people that are imposing their emotions. That's a big issue. I don't like people telling me how I should feel, or like when you're doing a meeting and people are giving these fake smiles, and I know they're giving the fake smiles because they're trying. That's just like something they read in a book, and they're just trying to do a polished image, and it just feels very disingenuous, and I don't like it.
Yeah, that is something that's that correlates well with that. You see a similar thing with I critic. Yeah, Mira.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, the social life and the communication, that does tire me out too. Because I went to teach at my daughter's school for a little bit for like some science thing, and I came home and I had to sit in my room for like 4 hours just to recuperate, because it just takes so much out of me.
But how about the control F minus?
Yeah, I'm not aggressive at all. And the only time I will get aggressive, I'll get physically aggressive, is if somebody tries to hurt somebody that's vulnerable. So an animal or a child or an old person or sick, I'll just put a stop to them. So that's kind of how that comes out.
Oh yeah,
I don't know about.
Yeah, I'll just tell the reason why I put it in there is I wanted to get distance between the profile and the person, because a lot of times people over-identify with a type, and they need to realize that it's just a model that they resemble rather than something that they are, because then that can become too confining.
Right. That's good. That's a good point. I was wondering why it said it. Okay. Yeah, I don't do force pretty much at all. So I avoid forceful confrontation. I am pretty quick. That's why I always like to make little games for myself to see how quick I can do something. And specialists in self-defense, I don't know that. I mean, I guess I am always thinking, like, if somebody did attack me, what would I do? Or how can I prevent something from harming somebody that I love? So I am always thinking about like the tactical strategies like that. Yeah, I think if it has to use force, tactic is the fast blow and then run away. Yeah, I think that's that self-preservation. Like if I have to be aggressive, I'd rather just end it really quickly and then get back to safety. So yeah, I guess I can see. that plays out.
Yeah, do you want to translate any of that for Victor? I know I've left you a big chunk.
Владимир Иванович, вы поняли, что Фара рассказывает, или вам что-то нужно пересказать?
Ну, кратко, если можно.
Речь шла, по-моему, вот последнее время, по крайней мере, о силовой сенсорике, о том, что она предпочитает избегать силовой конфронтации, но она думает о каких-то тактических подходах к таким ситуациям, а также о том, как окончить все это как можно быстрее.
Ну, это называется контрольная силовая сенсорика, которая отслеживает.
Да, и она еще сказала такую интересную вещь, что она любит играть сама с собой на то, как быстро она может закончить то или иное дело. Я это, кстати, у других мастеров тоже замечала.
Ну да, вот это вот признак того, что мы называем, как бы, вот это левое действие, да, это на быстроту, вот, на то, чтобы получить результат с наименьшими усилиями, то есть экономить время.
Yeah, Victor commented that this sort of playing with yourself for the speed of doing something is also the left time type feature.
Because we've got Nazira here, I think we've been over this with her before, so we can have a look at this. This is interesting because this is a point of difference with. So how do you relate to these things, Farrah, especially the bits in red? And then we can get Nazira's input on that as well, see if she's similar.
So P is for practical, is it?
Yeah, it's TE. I use the Gulenko code to sort of like highlight the fact that it's not equivalent, really, that it's to the Western ones, because I didn't want MBTI and codes people to look at it and then go, this doesn't sound like ISTJ at all. So,
sure. Well, okay, so you're saying, but it's effective only in cases which bring quick profit. So that's basically saying that I would only want to do something if it shows that it's really beneficial.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
What I've done here is the bits in red, especially red and underline, it's like where I think it's more like the Western ISTP, you know, like the artisan crafter. And I think you have sort of like identified with that type in the past. And so this profile overall, it's like a combination of ISTP and ISTJ. So for instance, when you looked at that previous block, that maybe was a little more ISTJ-ish, but when you look at this block and the one above it, it's more like the artisan crafter. And Victor even calls this type the craftsman. So there's quite a little bit of overlap.
I'm okay. So yeah, because the part where it said prudent and economical, I mean, I guess if you were to be around me for a while, you'd realize in the literal sense of those terms, I'm neither. But I am economical in terms of like wanting to do things straight to the point, I guess. So in that terms, if you use economical in the broader sense, I am more like that. So I also do want to do things quickly and get to the point. So that's, I guess, and maybe it could be described this way. I'm not distrustful of new methods though. As long as, I mean, if it's better, I'll try it. Free craft. I don't know what free craft activities closer to it than organized.
Yeah, it's what you would associate with the Kersey ISTP profile. Like, so the craftsman thing.
I watch on TV craft activities, but I don't actually do them. So, I mean, I don't have a lot of energy, so I am interested in good craftsmanship, but I don't have the energy to do it myself. And it frustrates me if I can't do it, so I usually don't start it.
Yeah, and that's the feature of Victor's receptive adaptive temperament, the lack of energy. However, the S.L.I. and I.L.I. tend to spend what little energy they have very well, very productively.
Yeah, I mean, like if I clean the house, I try to do it like really quick. I could take like 5 5 plates with one hand and put them in the cupboard from the dishwasher. So, you know, I will quickly and fast and burst, but then I go back to doing nothing. So I like to be able to not be obligated to do anything.
So Maria, if you translate that, especially mention the bit about the plates in the dishwasher.
Can you repeat the part about plates?
Well, if you're unloading the dishwasher, I try to take a handful of dishes in one hand. So I'll take like 5 plates at once with one hand and put them in the cabinet. So I try to take multiple and I try to do like, okay, I'm going to do this cabinet all at once and unload that first, because then I can get that all done. And then I'll move on to the next cabinet. So I put a lot of thought into unloading the dishwasher, basically.
Виктор Владимирович, понятно или нужно пересказать?
Нет, что там, нет, мне непонятно.
Дело в том, что когда Farrah рассказывает, что когда она разгружает посудомоечную машину, она старается, она вкладывает в это много умственной энергии. Например, она смотрит там, как она берет там, допустим, 5 тарелок в одну руку и сразу убирает, как бы, чтобы сделать все как можно быстрее, она продумывает процесс.
Эффективность процесса.
Старается делать все максимально эффективно.
Эффективность, оптимизация процесса.
Оптимизация процесса, да, правильно.
Это, вот смотрите, Мария, с точки зрения модели G, это есть творческая, как бы внутренняя творческая функция мастера. Вот, все сделать продуманно по минимальной структуре, чтобы меньше всего затратить каких-то лишних движений, там, лишних приложений усилий, чтобы отбросить все лишнее. Вот левая логика – это отбросить все лишнее, оставить только то, что работает, и все.
Вы говорите о деловой логике или о структурной?
Нет, по модели G у мастера внутри хорошо работает структурная логика, это нормально для него. У него творческая функция структурная. Деловая логика у него включается только тогда, когда экстремальная ситуация. И нельзя как бы не тратить эту энергию. Если нормальная ситуация, он работает по структурной логике, а не по деловой. Так по модели G. Вторая функция у мастера – структурная логика. Поэтому
да, я просто хотела уточнить, потому что вы сами говорите иногда, что вот интернали используются как бы в домашней обстановке, а речь идет именно о них.
Ну, смотрите, да, бывает и такое. Вот. Но речь идет о том, что если человек, допустим, работает интеллектуально, да, то он задействует как бы свои сильные функции. Вот. И сильная интеллектуальная функция у мастера – это именно структурная логика. Внутри он очень логично все обдумывает. Просто вывести наружу эту логику ему трудно. Понимаете? То есть хорошо работает…
Вы имеете в виду пояснить? Ее трудно пояснить, но легко трудно, применить на деле.
Потому что структурная логика у мастера вторая. Ему бывает трудно пояснить, как это делать. Но внутри он все себе хорошо объясняет, как оптимальным способом что-то сделать.
Так, теперь поняла, перевожу. Okay, Victor is saying that it's an example of the creative function of the SLI, which is a structural logic, and it works well inside the person, and it may be sometimes hard to take outside by explaining how it works. But inside the person, it works very well, and it's very active.
I'd like to ask Victor, is this type more likely to improvise, or with their great memory sort of like take a technique out of their mental toolbox of something that's worked in the past and then apply it?
Виктор Владимирович, понятно?
Нет.
Okay.
Вопрос состоит в том, что вот что будет скорее делать этот тип? Импровизировать в решении конкретного вопроса или вспоминать что-то из своего опыта, своего набора?
Если ситуация стандартная, то будет действовать, как он уже по отработанному, если стандартная ситуация. Если нет, он будет включать внутреннюю логику, структурную. вот, и находить оптимальное решение. А при внедрении этого решения уже будет импровизировать. Вот таким образом. То есть 3 этапа. Первое, если отработано, делает как привык. Если ситуация новая совершенно, он обдумывает, находит оптимальное решение, а потом выполняет его уже через импровизацию. То есть через подгонку к конкретным условиям.
So it's an interesting question, and the answer is first, if the situation is more or less textbook, so it will call for the textbook solution. But if there is no such thing, if there is no predictable and well-known technique to apply, then SLI will use the creative logic.
Right.
And in applying this solution, he will improvise.
Right.
If I can add to that point, it's Nazira speaking. So what Victor is saying that firstly, if it's standard situation or the situation that master has faced previously and many times, the person will use the same approach. So maybe it's something like from the past experience. If the situation is new, the person needs time to analyze, to step up a bit, to find out optimal solution, and then only implement that. And while implementing, the person can use creative approach.
Yeah, because I don't have a memory really. I pretty much just I don't necessarily have a very large mental toolbox to pull from. I don't have a memory at all, just pretty much.
If you can ask me if you ask me about this question, I have very good memory. Sometimes I remember so many details. Maybe because I do not have children. I don't know. It could be a reason.
I think, Farrah, you've maybe mentioned in the past that like you like to solve problems at work, be resourceful, come up with your own solutions. Is that right?
Yeah. Like I had a lady that spilled body fluids on herself in the laboratory. So I took a lab coat really quickly, and I found an extra large lab coat, and I cut the arm off, and I slipped it on her leg like a sock to protect her skin from contamination with the body fluids, because it was it's a lab coat that's made of an impermeable paper kind of construction. So I figured it would protect her until she was able to change out of her scrubs into something that was clean.
Maria, if you translate that, I think that would be a fantastic example for Victor, because you've got comfort sensing in there as well as resourcefulness.
I will need to ask Farrah to repeat that, because I missed something in the beginning.
Yeah, sure. At work in the laboratory, I had a coworker that spilled body fluids on herself, and we have disposable lab coats made of impermeable paper that basically fluids can't pass through. So I took a extra large lab coat because it has a larger size, obviously. I cut the sleeve off, and then I slipped it on her leg between her contaminated clothing and her skin, so it would protect her skin from any pathogens in the body fluid and keep her safe until she got clean clothes on.
Окей, перевожу. В лаборатории часто имеют дело с тканями или жидкостями пациентов. И вот один раз сотрудница Фары пролила на себя образец такой жидкости, и поскольку в ней могут содержаться патогены, нужно было быстро придумать способ, как сделать, чтобы при переодевании женщина чтобы ничто не попало на ее кожу. И вот решение Фары было такое. Она взяла, отрезала рукав от непромокаемого одноразового халата и вот разрезала его так, чтобы можно было обернуть ногу под одеждой. И вот из этой грязной одежды уже потом можно было спокойно переодевать, не боясь, что жидкость пойдет на кожу.
Ну вот, что и показывает. Вот в экстремальной ситуации мастер действует хорошо и показывает вот эту вот предприимчивость, показывает, предприимчивую деловую логику. Оно не сводится только лишь к этому, к деньгам. Это на социальном уровне. А в реальных ситуациях это быстрое действие, дающее приемлемый результат.
So Victor says that under pressure, S.L.I. demonstrates his demonstrative business logic because it's not just for business in a narrow sense. It's for quick solutions like life hacks.
Oh, okay.
And also, I should note that it's the behavior under pressure is also in my book. It's governed by supervisory shifts, and Victor pointed out that it was an enterprising behavior. You acted like an entrepreneur.
Oh.
Yeah, ENTJ. Yeah. Oh yes. One thing I'll mention to people is these blocks are all within a supervision ring of the same form of cognition. So if you look at the blocks so you've got SL there, which is SLI. You've got TR there, which is Maria's type, lyric. You've got EF there, which is ESFJ, enthusiast. And you've got PI there, which is ENTJ. And they all have the same form of cognition, which is dynamic and less spinning. So I think that's vortex synergetic. So, and this block here is supervisee, and EF is supervisor. Right. So Farrah, how'd you get on with the ESFJs?
That's not really well. I mean, I like them. I like that what they can do. I think they add a lot of value. I just have a problem when it starts to infringe on me. So I just don't want to. I don't want to have to conform to any kind of preconceived values that they feel that I would have to. And I don't like when people are all extra, like trying to get me to be emotional, because then I cry, and I don't want to be that way. So like when I had a coworker, she might like come up to me and say, "Oh, you look sad today, and please tell me what's going on. Is everything okay?" And then I really don't like it when people do that, because I know they're trying to be comforting, but it just it touches a part that I'm not really ready to share with anybody yet.
So basically, you have to suffer their caretaking.
Вот смотрите, когда энтузиаст видит мастера, ему хочется его развеселить, потому что мастер выглядит хладнокровным или даже печальным. Может быть, из-за этого вот это скептическое, как это сказать, энеаграмма, да? И естественно, он его просто путает с аналитиком и пытается вот прямыми эмоциями ему поднять настроение. А таким образом не получается, а наоборот перегрузка получается.
So Victor says that normally ESFJ will see ISTJ or SLI as someone they need to cheer up, and they apply their ethics of emotion to do it, and they sometimes overload them. Also, another reason another way you can explain it is that they may confuse SLI for LII, which sometimes resemble them. But what works for LII is very bad for SLI.
Yeah, I mean, we like it.
The direct emotional contamination.
Yeah, we like it if the emotion is positive and genuine. If we see it as genuine, then we like it.
Yeah, I like genuine emotion.
Because sometimes ESFJ people can show an emotion because they think it's the right thing to show. So it could. So when it comes across as insincere, then we don't like it. You know, like the "have a nice day" thing when the person's not really feeling it on the inside.
Right.
Well, I think it's also very common for left types because they have less sense of like social necessity of emotions. The idea about honest emotions is more of the left spinning idea.
Right.
Okay.
We've not looked at this block yet. So this is the social adaptation block. So the idea is this you sort of go to this when the social mission doesn't fit the task at hand. So what do you think of this one, Farrah, in the T+? So this is for the NI.
I don't really have a problem with number one. I don't have a problem knowing when is a good time to start something. I usually wait for a good time and then I take it. I guess in a sense, I sometimes feel vulnerable to the vicissitudes of fate. But I guess that's because I can see a trajectory of how things are going to go. And if I don't do anything to alter that, things will turn out that way. So I guess in that sense, I do get upset if my time is wasted. Like if I'm waiting in line because people are talking to each other and just socializing and not hurrying up and getting done, I get upset. Or if you try to talk to me and it has no point, sometimes I'll get upset because I feel like I don't want to listen to somebody else if it's something necessary to communicate.
Yeah, that's a little bit of FE break coming in there. Right. Yeah,
yeah, I notice it the most with the SFJs, probably the most. I don't learn from my mistakes very well, but I do try to. I don't like time schedules at all. I don't want to be confined to any kind of schedule. I like complete freedom.
Right. So that is a big data point for. So for example, in say Kersey or MBTI, you're much more consistent with ISTP than with the artisan crafter. And as I said, like you've got crafter there and crafter here with S.L.I, but the functions are different if you go into MBTI. So it's interesting, and it's something that I think about a lot because I want consistency.
Right.
So
number 6.
Yeah, go on.
Number 6. I focus on my goals, and it's just like me and my goal, and I kind of tune out the rest of the world and go straight for what I want, however I have to do it. I was like that when I was a child and I wanted to be, in a medical profession, or when I wanted to graduate high school early, or when I wanted to finish college. So I just kind of go straight for it.
That sounds a little bit like that supervisee shift where you can act a bit like an ENTJ. So do you think there's sometimes you can go into like ENTJ mode? Because that does sound a little bit where you can got this direction, got this vision.
It also sounds a little bit like SP, which are achievement oriented, but it can be basically anything. I don't think we will get a lot out of this because I've observed it with SP a lot. But it can also be a shifting behavior.
When you say SP, do you mean self-pres or do you mean the Kersey temperament?
Well, it's, I mean the what Kersey calls artisans.
Oh, right, okay.
Without his specific connotations.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, Linda Bones calls them improvisers. So Farrah, are you proud and independent?
I try to be very independent. I hate asking. I don't like to ask people for help if I can help it, because I feel like I'm imposing on them. So yeah, so in that sense, I guess I am. I'd rather just do it myself. But I mean, I wish I could have help, but I won't ask for it. I don't know what that means. Tries to ignore the ruined relationships and close up from that.
Well, I suppose it's this thing where it's like if a relationship's gone bad, it's like the person is like out in the cold, and it's like very hard to make up from that. I think that's what it means.
Oh, I don't hold any grudges generally. I mean, even with like the people that have treated me, you know, like pretty badly, I still am able to kind of, on a superficial level at least, be able to talk to them and remain amicable. But I don't open up to them anymore. I kind of withdraw and lose that part of myself that will expose who I truly am with those people. So yeah, I guess it's a way to protect myself from being hurt further.
Oh yes, I'll remind the audience that ethics of relations is sort of like, it's different from introverted feeling, but it can sort of get to the same place, because it's like the ethics is sort of based on the appropriateness and like the relations between people and the situation, so it can get to the same place as introverted feeling, but there's a slight difference in the process, and this concentrates on the relationships and the ethics in relation to somebody. So there's a little bit of a nuance there.
Yeah, I can really relate to the part about not opening up but keeping amicable relationships, because it's I think it's a 9 thing.
Oh yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, and I guess I do have kind of high moral standards for myself and for people that I would truly be close to, I guess. But I try not to be judgmental against people in general. I try to understand people have different needs, and perhaps they just had different ways of fulfilling those needs. But I do have kind of strict standards, especially when it comes to like hurting people, people that do things that are, you know, go against that basic principle.
Oh, Haley is similar in that, like, even if she sees somebody putting like a lighter under an insect.
Oh yeah, no, that would be horrible.
Haley has said, "I'd like to put a lighter under you," to anybody who does that. So
absolutely, I was actually,
yeah.
If I saw this one show they used to have where it was the animal welfare cops that would come in and protect the animals and pull them out of dangerous situations where people were neglecting them and hurting them. And I have no idea how I could do that kind of job, because I would probably become violent with the people that were doing this to these animals. So I probably wouldn't be the best person to have going to save these animals, because I would become like a monster myself.
Yeah, do you want to tell Victor that? I mean, that seems like a good point.
Виктор Владимирович.
Да, слушаю.
Дискуссии. Или вы понимаете все?
Нет, не все. Конечно же, не все я понимаю. Вот, может быть, какие-то есть еще ко мне вопросы. Вот я еще раз просто прочитал, что сомневается, и Дарио еще говорит, что у нее вот в мозговой активности есть вот этот вот в виде Starbucks, этот паттерн есть у нее, вот, вроде бы интуитивная, но это может быть, интуитивная эта функция может быть связана с ролевой функцией. Ведь он же сам говорит, что это различие бывает как бы короткое и длинное различие. Вот если брать long term, если брать, он пишет, да, то получается интуитивно. Это просто развитие ролевой функции во времени. Вот так это объясняется. Вот почему появляются вот эти интуитивные паттерны, интровертные интуитивные паттерны, которые в виде звезды. Вот, как раз вот эти вот. Вот это объясняется тем, что у Фарры происходит тренировка у любого человека с течением времени ролевой функции. А у мастера ролевая функция как раз интровертная интуиция времени.
Victor is saying that first thing he said is he was asking if anybody has questions to him. And second, he wanted to comment again on the start-burst pattern in Farrah's reading. And he said that it may be a reflection of developing the role function with time, because S.L.I has role intuitive function. And the role function tends to get more and more developed with time. And the fact that it got more use and got more developed may be reflected in the reading. It takes more and more place in the whole picture of brain activity.
Yeah, it's interesting there with T5. So you've got like the attentiveness to other people, social feedback, and I think what Victor mentioned before with the strong connection between T3 and T4, with the listening, so passing the speech and then listening to the tone of voice. Do you think you are very sensitive to tone of voice, Farrah? And then you maybe comparison with other people, thinking that they're not as sensitive to tone of voice. Like if you've heard a discussion between two people and go, oh, that's a bit right, maybe they picked up on that or something.
I think so, because I'm pretty good, I think, at like psychologically profiling people, and I analyze them when they're talking, but I don't necessarily analyze everything that they say, but kind of like their general, like the tone, and I try to get to the intent and the motivation behind what they're saying. So yeah, I guess that's probably where that's coming in from.
What I would think though, but you see, everybody who is, I mean, Dario well phrased. I sort of like clumsily tried to explain it, but Dario sort of explained that the people that are interested in typology, especially if they're thinking types, they might be atypical of their type because it's like they're interested in the psychology. So,
well, yeah, that makes sense. Because people want to figure themselves out and understand why they're a weirdo. And you know.
So I wondered if, were you doing this similar kind of thing before you got into typology?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I've actually been reading psychology books since I was a child, so I've always been interested in the way people are and how they think, and I've always analyzed people and been pretty quick at determining like motives and behaviors. Maybe not like a INFJ can pick up emotions. I might not be as good as at that. But I do feel like I'm good at understanding motivation behind why people might do something.
Yeah, I think that's important to tell Victor, Maria, because that's not something that came through in the interview.
Виктор Владимирович, вам перевести?
Да.
Да. Ну, у Фары спросили, насколько она может, ну, насколько она считает, что она может определять мотивы. Она ответила, что, может быть, она не так хорошо считывает эмоции, но она может считать, что может определять и интересуется мотивами других людей. Вот. А до этого у них был вопрос о том, что, ну, возможно ли, что люди, которые интересуются типологией, они изначально являются нетипичными для своего типа, и именно потому, что их как бы жизненные сценарии перпендикулярны их внутренним нуждам, они начинают в чем-то разбираться. И Фара сказала, что да, пожалуй, я это уже поняла.
Ну так это и хорошо, что такие сложные люди вот идут в типологию, в соционику, их интересно изучать, и они познают себя, и для них польза от этого.
Yeah, that's what makes yeah, Victor says that's what makes it interesting, that we get sophisticated cases to study.
Oh, another compliment, Farrah.
What?
I have to say, you're a sophisticated case. Another compliment.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, having people like cases which are not very like textbook, not very easy to solve, is what makes it interesting.
Another way of looking at it is when people do develop, do they usually develop in the way that the type profile would predict? So, for example, Dario has said that they can tend to develop and look like the opposite type in the same quadra. So, so maybe Farrah will develop some traits. So you could ask Victor, do you think Farrah has some traits of the delta NFs?
Виктор Владимирович, Дэн сказал, что у Дарио есть такая идея, что развитие типа часто происходит в направлении дуального типа. И как это согласуется с вашим опытом?
Вот, я рассматриваю разные пути развития личности. Вот, есть в сторону дуального, это если человек общается часто со своими дуалами, вот, да, он может, просто перенимая, подражая, действительно развивать в себе дуальные функции. Но по работе, не в личном общении, а по работе, чаще идет развитие в сторону полудуальных. Называется полудуальное смещение. Вот, допустим, если Farrah занимается, допустим, наукой она хочет заниматься, да, то у нее самый лучший способ развиваться – это в сторону искателя. Интуитивно-логический путь развития будет для нее лучше. Вот, а не дуальный. Вот так.
Yeah, Victor is saying that development toward the dual type is possible if the person interacts a lot with their duals. But professionally, the most natural and preferred way of developing the type is toward the semi-dual type. And that's what we frequently see with S.L.I. who develop their problem solving and inventor qualities.
Ну да, точно так же, как Бен, допустим, и я, мы смещаемся в гуманитарную сторону, правильно?
So,
это полудуальное смещение у нас.
Yeah, the same way as LII, in case of Victor and Ben, their shift is toward the humanitarian realm. They become more humanitarian as they develop.
Ooh.
That's from my experience. LII can be brilliant lecturers, which can contaminate the audience with their enthusiasm for the subject.
Yeah, if they are actually interested, but the problem is they can't talk about the small stuff. I wonder if Victor has he seen this before, because this is Dario came up with this graphic about the regions involved with empathy. Whether I wonder if he could comment on. Well, this is just something that I thought about that I've just seen at the moment, and I put it in as one of the slides. And Dario and Victor has looked at Farrah's data, and he knows which areas are active. And I wonder if there's bits here that sort of correspond to what he's seeing. I mean, you've got their sensitive mediator, and I'll put it differently. So, Farrah, what do you think of these? How do you think these things relate to you?
Well, I think when I went to Russia and I blended in with the culture, lived with my host family, I learned the language very quickly. I think that when it came to maybe I was using region F7, I imagine, to blend in with the cultural surroundings. And I also use a lot of reading facial expressions to determine feedback for my performance. And that's just in general. That's not just when I went to Russia, but that was an example where it was a very large culture shock and I had to quickly adjust. So yeah, I think I could do these things pretty good. I mean, I just don't think that I'm always on with that. But
so we could do it bit by bit. So Maria, you could tell Victor about what Farrah's just said about F7, then we could comment on the other areas one by one, so that you don't have to translate the whole thing.
Да, Farrah рассказывала о том, как вот на примере ее путешествия в Россию, она говорит, что она очень быстро, ну, достаточно быстро влилась в свое окружение, и вот путем некоего подражания и как бы начала использовать язык, и в целом как бы...
Ну, я понял, ну так все люди так делают, когда туда попадают. Это естественная реакция у многих людей. Они для того, чтобы выжить в этой среде, начинают подражать окружающим людям. Тут Farrah не исключение. Мне кажется, это любой так.
Да, она просто сказала, что для нее это было легко. Может быть, это восприимчивая адаптивность как раз и есть.
Ну, безусловно, в этом и заключается. Дело в том, что по восприимчиво-адаптивному темпераменту он, допустим, среди спокойных людей будет спокойным, а среди, допустим, эмоциональных людей он тоже сам становится эмоциональным. То есть он так как бы мимикрирует, получается. Это у него лучше получается, естественно получается. Вот так.
Вы имеете в виду восприимчиво-адаптивных?
Да, да, у восприимчиво-адаптивных.
Да.
Вот, у них лучше идет адаптация по среду. Но им надо определенное время все равно для перестройки. Потому что самые гибкие – это гибко-разворотливые. Но они просто как бы не могут долго выдерживать этот режим. Восприимчиво-адаптивные, они после подстройки могут долго в этом режиме находиться.
Victor is saying that the fastest accommodation is the typical for the flexible temperament, the EP, but they cannot stay long in such mode. For flexible, like for adaptable temperament, it takes more time to adjust, but they can they can stay like that for a much longer time. It's not as stressful for them to keep adjusting.
Maria, are you comparing the EP flexible active temperament with the receptive adaptive?
EP versus IJ.
Oh, right, that's the balance stable. Right, if it's I little j.
Да, это же соционические темпераменты, это же не темпераменты Керси, совершенно другие темпераменты.
Мы не говорим про Керси, мы говорим именно про Гуленко, как здесь говорят, темпераменты.
Ну, да, да, это другое.
А J это восприимчиво-адаптивные, EP это гибко-разворотливые.
Да, все правильно.
Right, so Farrah, what do you think about region FC6? If you talk about that bit, then Maria can translate, and then.
I think that's probably one that I don't do as much. I think I'm okay at naming feelings, but mostly my own. So I understand other people's feelings from understanding my own feelings and how I would feel in that situation. But I don't have that whole enjoy dramatic expression. I really don't. I mean, maybe with songs, maybe with artists, like singing a song, I would enjoy a dramatic expression. But usually not so much.
Yeah, go on, Maria. I think that was a good answer.
Which region?
This
is
FC6, and I think what comes into play is like the FE break, and Farrah's approach being more the introverted feeling approach of projecting our own experience and emotions into somebody else and relating that way.
Да, что касается эмоционального самовыражения, то здесь речь идет скорее о проектировании своих собственных эмоций, и драма ее не очень вдохновляет.
Вот там есть вот этот F7, да, по-моему, F7, там, где зеркальная область, вот это, где зеркальные нейроны, так называемые, да, F7. Это, скорее всего, у экстравертов будет. Например, вот у дуального типа, к мастеру, у советчика, у него, наверное, предполагаю я, будет вот эти вот зеркальные нейроны хорошо работать. Вот это область F7, потому что советчик будет, ну, умеет гибко реагировать на эмоции другого человека. Это называется контактность. Вот контактность – это гибко копировать, но не напрямую. Вот, выражение другого человека, мимику другого человека, как бы отзеркаливая его. Вот эта зона F7.
Victor says that the imaginative mimic feature would be more typical for an extrovert, and he would expect it to be strong with ENFP, particularly strong.
Oh yeah, I've noticed that. Just a point for people is that a lot of the graphics I've shown before is I took a scan from Dario's book, Neuroscience of Personality, which he wrote, which was published in 2011. And the reason why this has got more sections on it is just that Dario got a better EEG machine with more sensors on it. So people might not recognize bits which say like FC6 and P4A. It's just that sort of like Dario has split up the P4 into, I think it's A and B, I'm just guessing, and I think FC6 is a region that wasn't on the previous brain map that I usually show.
Yeah, it's a newer one.
So he'll probably be even more refined in future as he gets an EEG machine with more sensors on it.
Yeah.
So what do you
Понятно,
think?
Да.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about region? Oh yeah, so that was, I think Farrah's answer there was well indicative of FE break, where you can be aware of the emotion, where you can be aware of things and psychologically aware, but not necessarily in a way that extroverted feeling would be aware. So what do you think of region P4A?
I was reading that one. I was like, yeah, that's definitely one that I would be I'd probably visit that a lot. I'm almost always in touch with my body sensations, my mood, how I feel about something, my emotions, and I can strongly empathize with people, and I take their feelings and they become my own.
Yeah, if you translate that, Maria, then I'll add a bit that, and then you could say that Ben thinks that, well, that's really good. That should be active with a lot of the SI social mission types, all that stuff. You probably get a lot of activity for the sensory introverts with that.
Can you just briefly summarize this, because I'm getting a little tired and
oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
if you say your bit again, Farrah, and I confused Maria by putting a separate point, then.
Sure. I was just saying I relate strongly to P4A, and I can feel my own feelings as well as feel other people's feelings as my own.
Да, имеется в виду, что Фара может, она сильно идентифицируется с P4A, и она сильно ощущает свои собственные чувства и заражается чувствами других, то есть воспринимает их как свои.
Это имеется в виду вот состояние, это не выделяется отдельно там ощущения или эмоции, это имеется в виду целостное состояние.
Do you mean, Farrah, do you mean that it's the like emotions or the whole state of?
Yeah, I realized I didn't separate those out, but I can feel their physical pain and sensations as well as their emotions.
So do you mean you're not really telling them apart, so you understand them as a whole, like kind of read them as a whole?
I'm not really sure. I like if somebody gets hurt, I can feel that. Or if somebody lost their mother and their mother died or something, I would feel like I lost my mother, and so then I would I can feel that pain that they feel as my own. So it's both emotion and sensation. It's both things I can do.
So can I ask you just for myself, do you perceive the emotional pain as a part of general discomfort?
No, I guess I perceive it as just being distraught and grief and things like that.
Okay, I see, thanks. Вот Фара говорит, что если она, ну, как бы для нее она близко воспринимает и физическую, эмоциональную боль, то вот то, что связано, допустим, с отношениями, если кто-то, допустим, потерял близкого человека, маму, например, она для нее это ощущается вот как если бы она потеряла свою маму в моменте.
Просто интенсивность ощущений – это комплексно, целостно, здесь все вместе, здесь нельзя делить, где эмоции, где ощущения. Это одно целостное состояние, мне кажется. Вот так. Ну, Мария, как там у вас со временем? Не пора ли уже?
Да, время еще есть, просто я немножко так туплю.
Ну, вы смотрите, потому что я понимаю...
Да, нет, мне не надо бежать, но я просто говорю, что я немножко теряю концентрацию.
Yeah, I think Maria's got a hard break coming up, but so we could finish with this. So this is Dario's inventory of extroverted sensing, and the way Dario defines it is quite like what the master is good at. So I wonder how you respond to this fact. So I think part 1 is more basic use, 2 is intermediate, and 3 is advanced use. So you'll notice there that the advanced use right at the bottom sounds like the way extroverted sensing is defined in socionika as like power sensing. So what do you think of part 1? How do you relate to that?
I'd say I relate to all those.
Ooh.
Number 2, I can do number 2 also, both of those. That's part of that tactical strategy that I was telling you about.
Yeah. Tactical insights in.
Yeah. And
what about that one where it's about easily getting sync physically with people and things around you?
Yeah, I think I've just become like I just work with the environment basically, and I adapt to it however I need to as I go. Like when I'm driving my car and I become the car, and I just work with the environment like a surfer that's surfing a wave, you know.
Maria, do you want to translate that bit, and then we can do the rest?
Well, I would need you to repeat that.
Is it Ben? Do you want me to repeat the?
Yeah, it's I imagine the bit about becoming one with the car, like a surfer on the wave, that kind of.
Oh, okay, yeah. So when I'm driving in my car, I feel like me and the car are merged, and I adapt to the environment, which is kind of similar to an analogy of a surfer surfing a wave, just adapting, moving, and yeah, so that's kind of going with the flow of the world around me.
Фара говорит, что когда она, например, ведет свою машину, она чувствует себя как одно целое с машиной, и в целом весь этот процесс напоминает серфинг, то есть как бы ты работаешь с волной, являешься продолжением волны.
Это все признаки сенсорики как первой функции. Вот эта управляющая сенсорика такая, она как бы чувствует все как единое, нерасчлененное целое. И человек, если логик, да, то он сливается буквально с машиной или с инструментом, которым он управляет, как в одно целое. Это сенсорика первой функции.
Victor says that when sensory function is management, it tends to feel like that as you're like one with the tool. And as some people say, the power sensing types look like when they hold an item, they look like this is me and this is mine. And when the comfort sensing types hold that tool, it would be like, this is me, and this is also me.
Yeah, that's true.
So, what about the next ones? Farrah, I think you're on.
Well, I don't like adrenaline rushes. I don't like roller coasters or things like that. When people say thrill of action, that's not me, because I am highly sensitive to adrenaline. But I am more in the present moment. I take it as it comes, kind of, for the most part. And I know when I'm outside, especially when I'm outside, I get so distracted by all the beautiful things that I see and I smell. Like, I came out of the dentist's office with my kids, and I'm overwhelmed with the smell of the flowering spring bushes and how wonderful it smells. And, you know, I can't help but comment on it and try to get the kids to, you know, see and smell what I'm smelling, because it just takes my focus, you know. It's like, it's right there, right in your face.
I think that's a good thing to translate, because that's like very interesting.
Да, вы поняли, Виктор Владимирович?
Приблизительно.
Да, Фара говорит, что она обычно она не любит стрессы, вот эти адреналиновые американские горки, но большую часть времени она находится в моменте.
Ну да, это сенсорика первая функция,
как в случае с цветущими кустами на улице.
Потому что если бы ей больше нравился этот адреналин, эти силовые ситуации, да, вот, она была бы силовым сенсориком. А так она избегает этих ситуаций, поскольку функция это, наоборот, болезненно контролирующая, наоборот, стремится, чтобы этого не было. Вот. А сенсорика это находиться вот в данной точке времени и места.
Being here now, it's more typical for sensing types, but also comfort sensing rather than power sensing, because those would like adrenaline rush.
So, Farrah, what about that one on the bottom? Is that more like your bio dad, that one at the bottom, than you? The spur action and get results.
Yeah, he's kind of a macho dude. So he does make his presence felt, and he can look intimidating. I suppose I can come off that way because people have thought that I'm a police officer sometimes. Just like, I'm not really sure why. I guess I do look intimidating, but I can't help how I look, you know.
You know what? I can comment on that. I keep talking about control function being very active in group settings. And now that I was looking at Farrah as we talked today, apparently she's not a power sensing type, but her look, her face and the eye expression has so much SE, it kind of makes my skin crawl.
Wow.
So because it's a group work. So I would say that typically it's mirage shift that is working in like a group situation, like when you work as a group.
That's interesting, because theoretically you're supposed to be take a liking to that kind of thing. Maria.
No, I mean it. I just meant that I'm sensitive to it. I'm not saying that it's something negative.
It's just
but I notice it.
It's just that you use the expression "make my skin crawl," and usually that's negative. So that's not a negative, Farrah. Oh, Maria, that's just a misunderstanding.
No.
I figured it was a. Yeah, I figured it was a translation.
I just meant that I'm sensitive to it. I cannot say for sure whether I like it or not. It's not like a really uncomfortable feeling. It's just the feeling that it does something to your boundaries. It has a penetrating quality about it.
Yeah.
So we're getting towards the end now. So Bradley, have you got any questions for Victor?
Oh, you too. Okay.
Do I have any questions? Well, yes, but I have too many questions. So,
what we could do is, I'll get back to you in a moment, is that I think that this Hangout is good for showing that you fit the system to the person rather than the person to the system. So, for example, it looks like in Farrah's case, the Socionics profile is better at capturing her than maybe the Kersey profile or the MBTI profile. So by comparison, Farrah, you've looked at the SLI profile today. Do you think that profile by Victor captures you better than, say, the profile on the left? If you look through the profile on the left, this is the Dario Nardi description of the closest type to an SLI.
While Farrah is thinking, I wanted to make a comment about SLI type. I've had several friends of that type, and my impression is that they seem kind of blank the first few occasions, and sometimes longer. Sometimes it takes a while to get to know them, but then you feel incredible ease around them because they're flexible and they kind of adjust themselves to fit you.
Yeah.
Also, being a left spinning type, they get better as you know them. They take great effort to make you comfortable.
Yeah, I try. You know, on the left right there, that actually does sound kind of like me too.
Oh.
Actually, in that whole like brain thing like that almost sounds a little bit like me.
Because that's like the spoof of the
Мария,
type.
спросите, а почему вот на этой картинке мозга, да, там внизу алкоголь расположен? Это что означает? Как это Бен понимает?
Why is there alcohol in this picture of the brain?
Well, this is Victor. This is like the parody of like the MBTI Kersey types, and so it's just to add a bit of humor. And but there is a lot of truth though to some of these profiles. But the person who came up with them is trying to be funny. And
Yeah,
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, like, I used to make my own beer.
Ooh, details.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, oh, it's not too far from the truth, actually.
Понятно?
Нет, не совсем.
Бен просто ответил, что это такая была попытка пошутить, используя стереотипы.
Ага. То есть это не означает, что мастер склонен к алкоголизму больше, чем другие типы. Не, это же не означает.
Just for comparison, because this is more like, actually that's INFJ. Oh, did I put it in here? Right, I'll just, okay, that's ISFP. I think Dario said that you had qualities of this, is that true?
Yeah, because I was trying to decide if I was ISFP or ISTP. And he said that when he talked to me, I guess that based off of that clip that you showed me, Ben, he said that he didn't see why it wouldn't fit. I saw some things in the INFJ brain that you just showed, like where it's analyzing people. That part is like me. I mean, so I guess I have some INFJ qualities, right? So.
I just gotta put this over here. So this is just the contrast of it, and this one is a bit more like LSI. I'll just hope it turns up. I think that's it. No, is that it? Yes, this is it. This one's more like, and this one's even called the Inspector, and Victor calls the LSI the Inspector. So I wonder if Victor could relate to that. Follow the rules, logic.
Yeah, that's not like me. Not like me very much at all.
I like the fact that he's got goals, very small, and then capability to achieve their goals. So you could ask Victor Maria if that's a similar thing where it's like LSI has a lot of ability, but they're not ambitious as much.
I don't think they have the energy as much.
Right then. Okay, so Maria's getting a bit cream crackered. I've got some things there about SLI might be a bit more like this. Use the right tool for the right job in the right way. That's actually outside a weapons factory in India. And then a British ship actually was called HMS Inflexible. Oh yes, and this man was on Amazon talking about how he bought this thing because he wanted to pick up all the litter on the beach to make it nicer. And I'm thinking, is this person a comfort sensing management person? I think probably.
That's a good idea.
So you relate to her. So would you do something like that, Farrah?
Oh yeah, definitely. You should. I installed a Faraday cage on my smart meter that the electricity company installed because I didn't want the EMFs to penetrate the house, and my son's bedroom is right up against the electrical meter, and because it sends out all these EMFs, I got a Faraday cage off of online and installed it so it would reduce the amount that he was exposed to. Or I would do something like this where it would make it easier on my back, so I could still save the planet but not kill myself in the process.
Maria, I think Victor would love that bit about the Faraday cage. If you translate that, please. You might have to say it again, Farrah, about the Faraday cage.
I installed a Faraday cage on my electrical meter to reduce the EMFs, so it would protect my son since his bedroom is right up against the meter.
Right. Is that electromotive force?
It's electromagnetic.
Like
field.
EMP? Oh, right. Oh, okay. Electromagnetic field. Okay.
Yeah, it's a stuff. Yeah, I have a little meter that I bought off of Amazon too for like $30-something, and you can measure the EMFs that even your computer give off, or your electrical meters or cell phones or whatever. So
it's a brilliant combination of comfort sensing and technical knowledge. That's very S.L.I.
Yeah.
So if you translate that, Maria, we can climax with that because we've pretty much been through everything. I think. I know you're getting right. Okay. Oh yes.
She's gone.
Okay. While she's not there, what I'll say to Victor is that this is back. Okay. This is Bjork and probably IEE. So laying an egg, I just think is brilliant. Right. Right. I think. Oh yes, I forgot something. Oh, not that.
Maria's back.
Right. Somebody wrote something about SI. It was Anthony. Oh yeah, this is the logic thing that Victor mentioned. And then Anthony Snevians, a Jungian analyst, wrote something about introverted sensor. I'll just find that, and then we can go. Anthony Snevians, yeah, he was quite interesting. I'm gonna put it. It's in this one. That's it. One copy over there. Then it should appear in here. Is that it? Yes, that's it. Right, so I'll write down what Anthony Stevens wrote about, because this has got some relevance to comfort sensor. Whereas extroverted... oh, this is writing about... oh, yes, so here. Whereas the extroverted sensation type is guided by the intensity of objective influences, says Jung, the introverted type is guided by the intensity of the subjective sensation excited by the objective stimulus. So it's sort of like what you make of it. And then there was a good bit here. Emma Young, who considered herself to be of this type, described herself as being a highly sensitized photographic plate. Every detail of a situation is noticed and can be recalled at will. Such people have vivid emotions for sights, colours, passages in books, sounds, conversations, smells, tastes, tactile sensations, and so on. So is that like you, Farrah?
Nope, not at all.
Oh!
I'm not a photographic plate at all. I can't remember a lot of stuff. I can't remember. If I close my eyes, I couldn't remember what color the walls are at work or what color the carpets are. I just don't pay attention to stuff like that.
So maybe that's... Yeah, go on.
it may be the subtype because you're not connective subtype. You don't necessarily pay that much attention to the surroundings.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in my head mostly, I guess.
Does it also depend on whether you think it's important?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Виктор Владимирович, как бы вы прокомментировали то, что Фарра сказала, что она не, вот по юнговской формулировке она не совсем отвечает тому, что там написано, о том, что вот там фотографическая память, и что она как бы все подмечает, все потом может вспомнить. Вот у нее нет такой памяти, она находит очень много в своей голове. Вот мое мнение было, что это подтип.
Ну, подтип влияет, это раз. И во-вторых, так как Юнг описывает, это у рационалов часто работает. У них память такая, что долговременная, понимаете? Вот имеется в виду тут долговременная память. Вот такое у хранителя может быть. Он может помнить очень хорошо свое прошлое, например, свое детство в деталях. У инспектора может быть. Вот, и оно может быть всплывать неожиданно. Вот картины прошлого могут просто неожиданно всплывать, и на них идет реакция вот такая же, как была в прошлом. На этом основан, кстати, так называемый посттравматический синдром. То есть, когда травмы уже нет, но вот вспоминание о ней тоже приводит к таким вещам. Вот это скорее не для первой функции сенсорики интровертной, а для второй характерно. Вот такая вот память, которая повязана на реальных событиях, и вспоминаешь, и вызываются эти события, ощущения.
Well, Victor says that this is more typical for introverted sensing as a second function. So it's for like rational types who have it as a creative function. And that's why they, he also said that like recalling everything as a complex, like as a whole thing, and responding to it the exact same way is also the what we know, what is the basis of post-traumatic syndrome.
Well, you could also mention.
But maybe because you remember how Carol said that they were discussing in Bibi's seminars, they were discussing how the position of the function affects it. Maybe Jung himself may be that type of a second introverted sensing, and that's why he describes it like that.
Он описывал такое вот по своей жене, которая по его классификации была сенсорным интровертом, он, видимо, с нее списывал. Вот. А какого она была типа, по типу мы же не знаем.
Yeah, Victor corrected me that the description was based on his wife, and we're not sure what type she is. She was some kind of sensory feeling introvert. Is that what you said?
Сенсорным интровертом она была. Вот.
Yeah,
это раз.
sensory introvert.
Детали лучше схватывает правая сенсорика интровертная, не левая, это мы тоже знаем. Поэтому вот фотографическое схватывание, оно может быть у инспектора, если он ставит себе цель запомнить, как вещи лежат, он это четко сфотографирует. И потом вы перекладываете вещи, он приходит и видит, что кто-то что-то брал, например. Вот такой.
Yeah, a very accurate memory for detail is also typical for right types, and it's very typical for LSI when they make it their goal to remember things as they were. That's what makes them good at police work, for instance.
I can give you an example of somebody. So Imogen, who in MBTI and Kersey relates as ISFP. I don't know what type she would be in SOCIONICS, because she may be creatively SI, I'm not sure. But she is described as she used to have a photographic memory before she had a car injury and had the traumatic brain injury. And but even after her injury, she's smarter than a lot of people. And we've done hangouts with Imogen, and she was in one hangout with Dario where they had a little discussion about this. And she also relates to Enneagram type 9. So yeah, that can be true about people with photographic memory. It's not just a cliche that you get in movies.
Yeah,
where,
like Victor just said, it's characteristic of people with second position of SI.
Yeah, the creative SI. So that would be FI,
Виктор,
SE, and TiSx.
вы знаете, кто такая Имаджинская, да? Она была в одном из видео у Бена, и ее тип хранитель.
Угу. Да, вот
и она о себе рассказывала, что у нее была фотографическая память, и даже в какой-то мере сохранилась, несмотря на травму головы.
Совершенно верно. И это привязано еще, по-моему, Дарио есть в его книге у людей, у которых, которые по-нашему, получается, хранитель и инспектор, именно у них вот эти вот, он пишет, что можно их спутать, что ли, с интуитами, что они связывают свое прошлое как-то с будущим. Но одним словом, они хорошо помнят свое прошлое в хронологической последовательности. Вот так. Это хранитель и инспектор.
Это Дарио писал, да?
По-моему, мне так кажется, что даже у Дарио есть. Правда, о каких там типах идет речь, трудно сказать, но это о сенсорных интровертах точно.
Yeah, Victor says that he thinks it's that even Dario says that introverted sensing rationals are very good at remembering their...
Я не могу сказать, что это рационалы. Просто интровертные сенсорики, как группа, да, они отличаются связью настоящего с прошлым. То есть они хорошо увязывают то, что было раньше, если они запоминают, то сильная связь, и тем, что есть сейчас, в текущем состоянии.
Yeah, all the introverted sensing types have a very good connection between present and past is sort of organized chronologically for them.
Imogen said that she could almost like a cyborg, that she could have imagine a book in her brain and then turn to a specific page and actually see what was on the page. So it was sort of it was that good, her photographic memory.
Понятно, да?
Нет.
Что Imogen рассказывала, что может вообразить себе книгу от первой до последней страницы, и она может открывать страницы по своему желанию. То есть как бы она может вспоминать по своему желанию те или иные страницы.
Вообще я хочу сказать, что вот не будем привязываться только к сенсорикам. Вот дело в том, что вот соотношение речевого и визуального канала, это зависит от рациональности и иррациональности. Дело в том, что рационалы вот снаружи, они говорят, слушают, рационалы снаружи, а внутри они видят и представляют, внутри они визуализируют. Это рационалы, понимаете? Поэтому именно вторая функция может быть связана с визуальной памятью, а не первая. Потому что вот само мышление происходит у человека по второй функции. А первая функция – это как интерфейс, это прием-выдача, а именно обработка информации. Идет по второй. И если сенсорика комфорта с визуальностью связана, да, сенсорика интровертная, это визуальная вещь, то получается, если она вторая, то получается, она работает внутри. Вот так. Не знаю, понятно ли это?
Можете пояснить еще немного?
Смотрите, и иррационалы, у них по-разному работает восприятие визуальное и словесное, и речевое. То есть получается, если человек иррационал, у него снаружи визуальный канал работает, а внутри у него речевой, он говорит, прорабатывает, понимаете? А снаружи у него больше зрительный канал. А у рационалов наоборот. У них снаружи хорошо они могут говорить, строить речь, слушать, но внутри идет у них визуализация. Такой сильной внутренней речи нет, как у рационалов. Вот такие вот нюансы.
Victor is talking about it's kind of complicated to explain, but I will try. The difference between rational and irrational sensing types is the first management function is what you have outside in the moment, working right here. And the second one works inside. So with the irrational type, the your visual function is like working at like processing what's on the outside, but inside you there is like the verbal part of it, the irrational part of it working. So inside you verbalize and process everything by putting it in like logical and verbal categories. But as a rational types work, they have their verbal facilities on the outside working in the moment, but the visualization is what's going on inside you. Did I explain it well or not?
Yeah, no, I understood good, yeah.
Okay.
Еще есть такое название репрезентативная система. В НЛП есть такое понятие репрезентативная система. То есть первая система это как я воспринимаю, а вторая как я себе как бы представляю внутри себя. Да? Вот репрезентативная система получается у рационалов визуальная. То есть они о чем говорят или что слышат, то могут себя хорошо визуализировать. И рационалы наоборот, им надо увидеть, а потом они об этом говорят. Вот правильно бы нарисовал, да. Что вторая функция, независимо от того, экстраверт или интроверт, она репрезентирует внутри себя вот полученную по первой функции информацию.
So second function is also what is called the representative system, is how you represent for the information for yourself.
Yeah, I'll just mention that when I mentioned Imogen, she was before her accident, she was also like a technical artist. So that might be another thing that was consistent with her photographic memory. This is like a visual person.
Вот когда показывал Бен нам вот эту вот картинку с мозгом, где было краткое описание мастера, да, по Линде Беренс. Вот, там двойное название мастера, одно из них analyzer название мастера, правильно? Вот такое вот было. И это соответствует действительности, потому что внутри мастер все анализирует. У него внутренняя вот эта логика вторая, которая репрезентативная, она у него как у аналитика. Он внутри все анализирует.
Yeah, I heard some keywords there. I heard Victor mention analyzer.
Analyzer.
Yeah.
Вторая функция, second function, is structural logic.
Yeah. Yes. But there's a problem in that. Victor said himself that LSI inspector is like the Kersey inspector, and the S.L.I master craftsman is more like the Kersey crafter, rather than the functional equivalents.
Okay.
And this is why Farrah relates to both this ISDP and S.L.I, even though on the face of it they have different, but it's because folks of the way the functions are defined, because the way introverted sensing in MBTI is very much defined around being by the book and following traditions. And as you've seen from this hangout, introverted sensing is about comfort, and also what is played up in Victor's system is the creative function of the TI minus, which he defines as logic of fractal structure and looking at multiple points of view and improviser. And so when you look at SEI with the launcher of TI Plus, and TI Plus is very by the book because TI Plus is like LSI, which leads with TI Plus. So you can see where the profiles are coming from based on the functions. So that's why I mentioned right at the beginning when Victor asked about what socionics is like, and I said that it's philosophical, especially like Victor's approach in how he goes from the functions. Although I did remember reading that Victor puts the whole type above the functions and then the soci above the type.
This has been very helpful, going between the two types. So I thank you, Dr. Gulenko, for elaborating and comparing and contrasting. And I think thanks to you, Maria, for translating.
Yeah.
I know it's you know, a time commitment, so I really appreciate it.
Right. So Farrah, could you do something? So can you speak a little bit of Russian? Maybe if Bradley asked the question. Okay, you got to go. So what we can do, because I remember Maria said, so we've gone over about half an hour on Maria's time, so I'm going to say goodbye, folks. And
До свидания.
До свидания, goodbye.
Yeah, and до свидания for me as well.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Right, okay, bye-bye, folks.